Just love listening to David Smalley and the Dogma Debate. Dogma Debate. Dogma Debate. Dogma Debate.
What you are about to hear is like nothing you've heard before.
This isn't just about debating. This is about making a difference.
It'll challenge you. It'll make you laugh. It'll upset you. But most importantly,
It'll make you think.
I actually have proof here.
we just created a gay baby, 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 gay baby. You're all dirty little heathens.
There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go.
Today is January 29th, 2014. That's a Wednesday. This is the Dogma Debate. I'm your host, David Smalley. Welcome to the show. Hello, Rachel and Aaron.
Hello. How do you do?
Fantastic. We're going to get to our guest, Mr. Peter Boghossian, here in just a second. Today, we're going to talk about kind of a new version of Republicans say the darndest things. This one's not all that funny. Something horrible happened, and 4 separate Republicans get to weigh in on it, and it's pretty much the same bigotry we're used to. Also, what is a kirpan? Have you ever heard of it? And should anyone be ever allowed to walk into a federal building with a sword for religious reasons? Oh, yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit later. And no, it's not Rachel in video game religion. It's not, I promise you.
My samurai swords, I do have them.
Also, celebrities you didn't know were religious, and we're going to read a letter from hell right here on the show. And then, Rachel, I asked you today about a science segment.
Yes.
And usually I just give you the freedom to pick your science segment. I just want to know the name of it. I didn't like the name of this science segment.
What was it, David?
I text Rachel today and I said, I need to know the name of your science segment. And she said, a science quiz for you. And
Yep.
I cannot repeat my response.
The words. Yeah.
Because we just might re-air this on an AM radio station, so we're going to be careful with that. But I can't repeat my response. But
it wasn't excitement.
A science quiz for me. So you want to put me on the spot, live on the air.
You put me on the spot with a religious quiz.
Was it a word that sounded like excitement?
Now, wait a minute.
Maybe not. I mean...
No.
Maybe what dogs do when they get excited.
Sounded like sounded more like excitement. I didn't... yeah, but we took that quiz collectively together. That was something...
I might help you. I didn't even write the quiz.
Wow.
I wrote some of the questions, but my science researcher actually did the quiz. So
that worries
it's for
me.
all of us.
I'm going to look so stupid.
He's a smart guy.
What else is new?
He might even get me.
I'm always... anyway. Oh, I could be your scapegoat. If you don't know, you could just roll your eyes. And as I'm guessing, you can be Googling the answer.
Right, exactly.
Because that's what we do now.
Except he sent me the answers, and he said specifically, do not give this page to David.
Wow. Really?
So
who is this guy?
Andrew Jennings, my buddy. He's my science buddy.
Okay.
He does all my work for me. Oops.
Gotcha. Okay, well, without further ado, let's bring in our guest, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Peter Boghossian. Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
I like the applause. I love the intro. I'm fantastic. How are you guys doing? It's great to see Aaron again. I haven't seen him since INR 3.
So how do you know? How do you know Aaron?
I just really liked him. We met at INR 3, and he's just a good guy. He's a sincere, thoughtful, and honest guy. So
okay, he likes you because he's only met you once. Is that the?
Yeah. I haven't pushed that boundary yet. Yeah, and I was following Boghossian when he came up with a video that quoted something that I said in my video when he said that faith is defined as, or that could be accurately defined as, pretending to know what you don't know.
Yeah, let's start off there. I'm glad you said that because that's one of the few things you and I have disagreed on this show. And I was pretty solid in that. And now 2 of the smartest guys I know disagree with that. And let me just let you clarify, Peter. And we're going to get into your book. We're going to get into all sorts of fun things. And thank you for joining us today. But your definition of faith, when you state that is your definition of faith, is that the only definition of faith, or are you also open to there being different meanings of it?
No, I mean, of course, people can use any word any way they want. I give two definitions of faith, but my definition of faith is an analysis of how people use faith. But
Okay.
I'd like to take the opportunity to not talk about historical definitions or how things have been used by the faithful in what I consider are attempts to obscure the obvious, that faith is belief on the basis of insufficient evidence. But I'll actually give you data points. I'll give you evidence that faith really is pretending to know things you don't know. Hardcore empirical evidence that's verifiable. Daniel Dennett has written a book. In fact, Aaron and I saw Daniel Dennett speak before he had published his next book about, he published a little book. Any of your listeners can get it online, called Preachers Who Are Not Believers. And in it, he notes clergy who are not believers. They're all pretending.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a situation where people are that definition of faith is right on point. I really like what you said about not allowing people to use historical definitions to obscure from the obvious. That, I think, is the bigger point. We could argue, well, faith can also mean trust and comes from the Latin fierde, and we could argue that, but at the end of the day, I think we all know what people typically mean when they say faith, and I would never attempt to defend that. So I think you're right on there. But the argument Arn and I had was, I said that that's not the only meaning of faith, and when I say that, I mean if I heard what I thought to be a lawnmower outside on a bright sunny day, I wouldn't think, oh, that's someone landing an airplane in my backyard. I would say I trust that that's probably a lawnmower, but I wouldn't claim to know that that was a lawnmower. I wouldn't claim that that's absolute fact. I would say I trust that that's what it is. I wouldn't call it faith, but someone could look at that and say, technically you have faith that it's a lawnmower, but I would want to confirm.
No.
Okay.
It's an odd use of the word trust there. I mean, I wouldn't use the word trust like that. And one of the things I try to do in a manual for creating atheists is to advocate that we clean up our language. Faith is the word that one uses, particularly in religious contexts, when one assigns a higher probability value, a higher confidence value to a claim than is warranted by the evidence. That's what faith is. And so you don't have faith that it's a lawnmower. I'm not even sure that you trust that it's a lawnmower. You know what a lawnmower looks like. You know what a lawnmower sounds like. You've seen lawnmowers in the past. You've walked by lawnmowers. Maybe you've had the experience of being in that room and heard a lawnmower. No faith is necessary to make the claim. Now, if you want to claim that you're positive that it's a lawnmower, for example, if you have an evidence that's below positive, then you can do that. So, for example, if the evidence that you have you assign a confidence value of 50% to the fact that it's a lawnmower, and someone says, hey, do you think that's a lawnmower? Any number above 50%, you would then be justified in using the word faith. If you said, I'm 100% sure this is a lawnmower, how do you know that? I have faith, then you're using the word faith correctly.
Okay, now I would argue a slightly different definition, in that faith is an unreasonable conviction assumed without reason and defended against all reason.
Boy, I thought I was an extremist. Okay, yeah.
So I covered something that when I released my book, I called it the faithometer theory. Kind of talking about what we were talking about, as far as the 50% sliding scale. The more faith you need depends on the less evidence you have. And so if you want to make the claim, I think the point here is people making knowledge claims, because I would never say
exactly
I know there's a lawnmower out there. I would say there's probably one. Let me go check.
No,
I would never claim to have that knowledge without knowing for sure.
Now, I can use an argument from authority because I just happened to recently discover that God has a different definition of faith than we do. I was watching and God, by the way, is an atheist, I discovered when I was watching an interview with Morgan Freeman. And Morgan Freeman said that he is not a man of God. However, much to my frustration, he said he is a man of faith. He then went on to describe in the interview faith as being synonymous with trust, that scientists have faith in their theories.
Oh.
Yeah.
He hasn't read my book.
No, he hasn't. No, so
faith is also the word that one uses when one doesn't have enough evidence, but when one believes anyway.
What about in relationships? Someone being faithful, someone being trustworthy.
Yeah,
it's a whole different context, though. You've got, and I don't mean to step on you here, but in the dictionary, you've got two contexts, and then that one's not included. But faithfulness or being faithful to someone is a whole third context that has nothing to do with religion.
Okay. No, I mean, I definitely think it's overused, and I'm glad we talked about it because I think it does make a lot of sense there. I mean, did you once say that you felt like it wasn't socially productive or strategically productive for people to identify as atheist?
Who, me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that I've had a different opinion very, very recently, but yeah, I still believe that in essence. Yeah.
So explain that to me, because when I saw that here on the research document, I thought, now why would he call his book Manual for Creating Atheists and then say it's actually not strategically? Well, just so you know, Peter, I have a great amount of respect for you, and I'm just getting the two things I disagree with you out of the way so we can have a great time the rest of it. But I'm just really curious as to why you would say that it's not strategically, or the question is worded that you believe that identifying as an atheist is strategically unproductive, a la Sam Harris. So explain what you mean by that.
Well, I'll preface by saying you can disagree with me about anything you want. I have no foothold to truth, and if I'm wrong, I'm willing to revise my belief. The passage I think you're referring to in my book talks about how people identify, and there's been a significant difference of opinion in the atheist community about whether or not people can identify as an atheist. I personally do not identify as an atheist, and I know that Richard Carrier does identify as an atheist. I know that Sam Harris does not. I don't. Although I'd like to add something. I recently read a Nigel Warburton posted on Twitter an interview with Simon Blackburn, and he asked him if he was an atheist, and he said something that really resonated with me. He said he doesn't consider himself an atheist. He considers himself an infidel. And the more I thought about that, the more interesting I found that to be. Because I might not really consider myself to be an atheist, but I may actually consider myself to be an infidel.
Well, an infidel, by definition, correct me if I'm wrong, is just someone who questions one of the three Abrahamic religions, questions the religious doctrine, right?
Well, that's actually an interesting question, and we can look at the etymology of the word. I think what your initial question got to was how people self-identify. And one of the things I write about in the book is that we have very serious pressing epistemological and moral crises, and I don't really concern myself with how people choose to identify. People can choose to identify as an atheist or not, and it's not important to me. That said, I personally don't identify myself. I don't identify as an atheist.
See, I guess that does matter to me, because that's kind of the part of a secular movement, is when we gain our secular identity and we say we are atheist, and it's not a bad word. It's okay to accept it. It's okay to say who you are. It's okay to say that you're an atheist if you live without a theism. If you lack of a belief in a theology, you're an atheist. And I think hiding from the word or intentionally avoiding the word isn't doing the movement justice.
Yeah, and the same thing with me. I mean, I was told all kinds of wrong things about what an atheist was my whole life. I was told that atheists believe in nothing. I was told that atheists deny any possibility that there's anything beyond what we can prove. All kinds of unreasonable things were piled onto that word, that atheists were nihilists, and all atheists were nihilists.
I was a Satanist.
Yeah, exactly, and that they believe that there's a God, they just hate him. I was given every possible wrong definition. The actual definition, however, when I realized what it was and that it applied to me, it was freeing for me. And then I very quickly realized that word wasn't strong enough. And one of the things that bothers me is here I am, an activist with American Atheists, and they have this OUT program. And what's frustrating for me is that most of the atheists in this country do not identify as such. The greatest atheists we've had in history do not identify as such. Neil deGrasse Tyson knows the word applies to him, but won't use it. Carl Sagan didn't know the real definition, never used it, wouldn't define himself that way, but it fits.
I guess the reason it bothers me, Peter, is because those great minds like you that are out writing these types of wonderful things, I consider you an atheist. I consider you part of that group. And then when you refuse to identify as an atheist, I guess for me, just being honest here, it kind of makes me feel like you don't want to be associated with the name because of the negative cultural connotation. Does that have anything to do with it?
No, it doesn't. I will say that my atheist credentials are impeccable. To me, it's just a matter of identity. And I'm very specific in the book that I don't. My role isn't to be a hegemon, and my role isn't to tell people how they should or should not identify. My role is to help people reason, to learn to reason, and to correct problems in their thinking. And hopefully, I can make a contribution to the eradication of the faith virus. But I think we're talking about two different things. I think we're two ships passing in the night.
We also
I'm
have
talking about how people self-identify.
Yeah, we're also talking about two different motives here, too, because one of my oldest and dearest friends was actually berating another of my friends, saying that she is not really atheist, and he knows that she is not really atheist because she doesn't know for certain that there's no God. And according to him, you had to know for certain that there's no God. So she was very upset about this. So I go to my friend who's saying these things to her to unsaddle her from atheism because for some reason he finds that objectionable. And so I asked my friend, are you convinced that an actual deity really exists? And he says, no. I said, congratulations, welcome to atheism. Right. And then he argued, no, he doesn't know that there's no God. How could maybe there is a God and he doesn't know? It doesn't matter. You're not convinced. You're still an atheist.
So Peter, is your position that technically, according to the definition, you fall into that category? You just choose not to self-identify as an atheist.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, and I think that's what we're talking about. But it's not only me self-identifying as an atheist. My whole point is I think it's not up to me to decide how people self-identify. It's not up to me to decide if people identify as gay or non-stamp collectors. Or I'm not. I would never assume that mantle to tell people what their identities or roles should be. I can only speak for myself.
And just so that I don't come off looking like a complete jerk, you understand that the person that I was talking to was forming an attack against another one of my friends based on that criteria and the way that he falsely defines it. So I was in a position where I had to push it back on him in similar fashion.
So just to be clear about something, Aaron, nobody would ever perceive you as being a jerk.
No, a few who will contest you on that, but we'll leave that.
I've got emails that also disagree with me. No, so you're the professor at Portland State University in the philosophy department. Is it true that you actually teach a class on atheism?
Yeah. I want to say kind of a theme that's coming up is that I'm some kind of really smart guy or something. I'm actually not so sure that's true.
Well, that's a good indication that you are.
Well, I don't know. I regularly meet people who are much more knowledgeable and have kind of much more raw light bulb power than I do.
You and I sat at a table with Victor Stenger and Dan Dennett. How can we not come away from that humbled? Exactly.
And being around Victor Stenger is like dog years. It's like 7 to 1. One conversation with him in my mind, I'm scraping my mind off the side. I teach a class in atheism, and those are large 300-level classes, and I teach a class in New Atheism, which I just finished, which is a 400-level class. And they're really fun classes. They're great classes. I love it.
Do you include, by the way, the definition that I gave you?
We cover a whole range of definitions. We look at the Greek. We look at the Hebrews 1:11. We look at in the 400-level class. In the 300-level class, it's kind of like the one that your friend, our mutual friend, was in. It's kind of like the kitchen sink of atheism. It's just to give people an introduction to, the one in which you were going to speak about creationism, et cetera, et cetera. The 400-level class, it's a much more detailed, close examination of a few thoughts and concepts from the history of Western and Eastern intellectual thought about God and the role of faith, and we look at the Upanishads and non-Abrahamic traditions, and we just really take a look at. They're fantastic classes, and I can
already tell. I wish I was one of your students.
Yeah, it's a wonderful class, and it's a great opportunity for me to be challenged. Recently, I've started studying the Quran. I have a tutor. I'm on my 4th reading. I just started it, and he's helping me to understand that incredibly complex tapestry in history. And I'm also reading the Hadiths too, which is like the stories about the Muslim prophet Muhammad. So I'm going to start incorporating some of that in classes as well.
Okay. If you want to get your live comment or question on the air, you can live tweet right now at David C. Smalley. I'm reviewing the Twitter feed as we go if you have any questions for Peter. You've recently issued a thought challenge. Tell us about that, and has anyone responded to it yet?
Oh, from the book?
Yes.
Oh, it's defending the idea that faith is pretending to know things you don't know. Yeah, a few people have emailed me, and I do my best to email. I think this is one of the reasons I'm so insanely busy. Even if it's a quick note, I do my best to email back folks who seem sincere and genuine about engaging issues or have other epistemological questions. But the thought challenge is basically what we started the interview or the conversation off. I really think we need to clean up our language, and I'm advocating not necessarily the definition of faith. A definition is pretending to know things you don't know. And I think we need to disambiguate faith from hope and trust and promise, et cetera, et cetera. I can actually read you the definition while you guys keep talking.
And while we're on definitions, I did one of my own. I did a post on my blog called Offerings to the Atheist Dictionary. So if you want to know exactly what I mean by any of these terms, that's where it is.
All right. Give me a sentence where one must use the word faith and cannot replace that with hope, yet at the same time isn't an example of pretending to know something one doesn't know. Maybe your listeners can tweet something about it, but I think often people use the word hope, trust, confidence as synonyms, and they're just simply not synonyms for faith.
And I think another way to give a kind of a summary definition is in the way it's used properly. A member of my family once said, "I believe what I believe because that's what I believe, and I ain't going to believe what you believe because it's not what I believe."
Yeah. Okay. So here's one. I think that's right for rank and file believers. And one of the things, the more you read people like Swinburne or William Lane Craig, or people who or Alvin Plantinga, who take a more thoughtful approach, you'll find that the less they rely on evidence. And so they'll say things like, well, faith, we didn't really talk about this, but it's from the book. Faith is not an epistemology, although they'll disagree on that. Faith is a feeling that one has, and then one places confidence in this feeling or trust. But the response, all those things just push the causal chain epistemically down one link. I mean, they're not they don't solve the problem. In fact, if anything, they actually make the problem more complicated.
And your position on whether science is the only way to know?
The only way to know what?
Anything.
Oh, you mean no, I in general, yeah. In general, I think that's true. However, I think it's much more complicated than that. For example, I think there is such a thing as moral knowledge, and I think I just tweeted about this yesterday. I think we can come to moral knowledge through the Socratic method and through American philosopher John Rawls' thought experiments. I think that the role of science, and particularly cognitive neuroscience, will expand, and that we'll see an ever-decreasing role that philosophy plays.
When you say moral knowledge, does that mean you're not a moral relativist and you, in fact, do believe in some absolutes?
I am absolutely, unequivocally, positively not a moral relativist, and when I teach people how to disabuse other people of their faith, I also teach them, or I also advocate, that the first thing we need to do is to help disabuse people of epistemological relativism. So I'm not a relativist, moral, cognitively, or epistemologically.
Oh, that's fascinating. I've gone back and forth. I'm open to that. Give me, can you? And I'm only asking this because I'm asked this sometimes, and I rarely have a good answer. What would be an idea or an example of an absolute moral?
Okay, so before that, we need to step back and take a look at, there are three domains of relativism. I write about this a little bit in my book, but one domain, and I'll answer your question directly in a minute, but one domain of thought is epistemological, how we know, and another domain of thought is cognitive, our cognitions, our thought processes, and yet another is moral. And so your question was, give me an example of a proposition of something that we can claim, of which we can claim moral knowledge. And one response would be, it is morally wrong to torture small children for fun. And we can, now, the most reasonable question would be, how do you know that? And can you know that without the existence of a god or gods or originators of the universe? And the answer is, yeah, you can rationally derive principles of moral reasoning, just as in the same way or very similar ways that you can rationally derive epistemological principles.
Okay. Adding in the for fun, I think, is really what does it for me, because then you can expand upon that and say basically any of those things for fun. If you're doing it for fun, that technically still counts. It's a great answer. So that's what I'm going to start using.
One
that.
way you can.
What
look
about
at
for
it is,
profit?
No.
Well, you see,
Darn.
so from there you can make you can make this architectonic structure. You can make this moral structure based upon certain propositional knowledge claims. I don't want to be overly geeky, but if you watch my Easter Bunny talk, you can think about it like this: are there certain, and I write about this in the book, are there certain ways of thinking that will decrease the likelihood that you'll arrive at truth? Well, yeah. I mean, of course there are. We know that for a fact. Flipping coins is a great example of that. Nobody flips coins or sacrifices goats or something to come to knowledge. But for some reason it's not controversial. As an educator, it's not controversial at all if you help people overcome their delusions about flipping coins or sacrificing chickens. But if you start talking about faith, the whole world is up in arms. You're some kind of radical. So from epistemological relativism, the moment that you say that some processes are bad is a relational word. That must mean some processes are good. And those processes have commonalities, and the commonality is that they're predicated or based upon evidence in the scientific method.
What you were saying about flipping a coin, and how some processes in gaining knowledge are bad ones. I use a comparison between the game of 20 questions, where your next question is going to be based on the answer, whatever knowledge you've already gained. And so you're going to hone in eventually on a closer version of the truth. But then if you go the faith route, then you can play 20 assumptions.
Yeah. And
then how much further from the truth are you likely to be?
Yeah, Stefan Molyneux said something to me that I thought, it's like those old commercials. I should have had a V8. Like, I can't believe I didn't think of that before. I think about this stuff constantly. He said, faith is like a backwards roadmap. And the more I thought about that, the more profound I found that to be. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is, because you think you have a roadmap that's taking you to the truth, but it's taking you away from the truth. And you have attempts, and Jerry Coyne and others have written about this, you have attempts by sophisticated theologians like Alvin Plantinga, where he talks about properly basic beliefs, or he talks about the censor divinitatis, and just as something can appear, black to you, like the cover of my case or what have you, people have these properly basic or immediate perceptions of God. So I find that to be fascinating. He says if people claim they don't have it, they're either lying or they were born without it.
How did you get the university? How did you convince the university to let you teach an atheism class?
I was thinking the exact
That
same
is
thing.
so cool.
Well, I don't really know how much convincing was necessary. I wrote up a class. I love to design classes. I designed a class, knowledge, rationality, and values. I designed a science fiction class. I'm a science fiction fanatic. I designed a science fiction class, but I never submitted it. I submitted it to the chair of the department. What I wanted to do was I wanted to make a MOOC, M-O-O-C, a massively online open enrollment course so that anybody in the world could take it. And I knew my prediction was that if I didn't do this by 2015, somebody else would make this class and would probably be from a religious or Christian institution.
Mm-hmm.
Center for Inquiry has one of these, but I wrote up the class and then I submitted it to my boss, and then it went through a number of levels, the procedural administrative hurdles, and then there it is. And then I wrote up the same class to be a 400 level class.
Very interesting. Well, congratulations on that. We did have a question for a listener, and because she mentioned you in her question, I wanted to save it for our talk with you. She was originally asking me what I thought, but I really want to pose this question to you first. She says, she's from Riverside, California. She said, I had a conversation today with a theist, and all was going well until he told me that, yes, he would kill babies if God told him to. I asked him all the typical questions like, how do you know that's your God and that you're not delusional? Wouldn't you feel bad? And so on and so forth. And he literally blew me away, she says, by saying that he wouldn't even question it. He would kill for God. He knows it's good because God says so. He doesn't care what's socially good and the norm, because if God says it's good, then it's good. I'm honestly stumped, and I don't know how to respond to that or how to go about proceeding with that kind of response. I tried to get him to see how Peter Boghossian in A Manual for Creating Atheists would approach it, but he wouldn't budge. What would you have said?
That's a great question. So there's an exact intervention that I give. I call these interventions. There's an intervention that I give in the book where I run someone through a thought experiment about whether or not they should kill all left-handed people. And ultimately the person says that they should kill all left-handed people. And we talk about that. So in that case, one of the things that I advocate when we try to help disabuse people of their faith is the first thing that, and Aaron saw part of this talk at INR3, one of the things that we try to do is we try to ascertain where people are, and I use something called the trans-theoretical model of change. It's just from the literature on behavior change and drug and alcohol addiction. Mm-hmm. So we try to find or peg a number to where somebody is on the scale. That person had a particularly high level of doxastic closure or belief closure. The structure of their beliefs were closed. So one thing I advocate that all of the treatment questions, so given this the person has a belief closure, the goal is to just take them down one notch and instill some doubt. The problem there is that exactly what we were talking about at the beginning of the hour is that faith is bundled with a moral edifice, and I talk about this in my May 6th talk about faith is pretending to know something you don't know. Faith is bundled with a moral edifice, and we need to divorce the idea of faith as a moral good from faith as an epistemology. So we need to hone in on this idea that faith is a way of knowing the world, and the feelings or the trust one has doesn't make it the case. And that's the framework from which I would proceed to question. That doesn't answer your question, but that is the framework for other listeners who aren't familiar with these modalities and ways of treating people who are infected by the faith virus.
And I take a slightly more subtle approach. I tell people that faith is the most dishonest position it is possible to have. And then
and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, so there are different ways to approach this. And one of the things that I advocate in the book is that we need to take our own skill sets and bring our own knowledge base and personality traits to bear on these problems. So in that case, what I would have done is I would have run them through various scenarios, and each time I would have upped the ante. So each time I would have upped the ante, like, killing 100 babies, killing 1,000, burning them to death, torturing them. So I would have constantly upped the ante. Now, that's not a guarantee if someone has a state of doxastic closure, if their belief structure is already closed. And after a few of those questions, you don't need to talk about killing all the babies in the world. You then would take the treatment modality and bring it. And this is what I'm going to talk about. I have a TV show coming out in which I do exactly this. In which we then would attempt to go to the root belief, and that is what Daniel Dennett in chapter 6 or 7 of Breaking the Spell terms belief and belief. So those interventions would have to target belief and belief. This idea that people believe that it's good to have certain beliefs. Those ideas need to be undermined.
Okay, so if you were in the conversation, basically what you would do is just continue to make it worse and worse and worse and see if they did have a line at all.
Yeah, but you could only do that after like 6 or 8 questions. you wouldn't even need that. You'd need maybe 5 questions. You have to make sure you don't ask too many questions. Too many questions about that. You only need a few to ascertain the level of doxastic closure, the belief closure. Once you figure out where their belief closure is, then then you know that the next questions you should ask are targeting them at this stage in the trans-theoretical model. Okay. So then you'd switch. So those questions, you could peg a number to how closed their belief structure is. So then you switch your strategy to help them cast doubt or to help them separate belief from belief. It's actually not that tricky. It's not a Jedi mind trick. It just takes a little practice to figure out how to do this stuff.
Speaking of Jedi mind tricks, before we let you go, and the listeners of this show will know that this question didn't come from me, but Donovan wants to know, before you let him go, ask Peter what his favorite character is from all science fiction. He will love that question.
I thought you were going to say name your top 10 favorite characters from your top 10 science fiction shows.
One before we let you go. Just
hard.
One.
I got my answer.
What's yours?
Dave Lister.
Who's that?
Oh, really? From
Red Dwarf.
Red Dwarf. Yeah. Dave Lister's great. He wouldn't be my favorite, but I like Dave. You know, they got back together again for a I don't know if you've seen that.
I have heard, ago. Yeah.
I think it would be it would either be Londo Mallory from Babylon 5. Might be Avon from Blake 7.
It's like he's speaking another language to me right now. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Well, I'm kind of a geek. Yeah, I think that.
And when I was younger, it was Chewbacca.
Was it Chewbacca?
Oh, I know that guy. I know that guy.
Is it because you kind of resemble him?
Thanks, Rachel.
Wow.
That's all I had to say this whole segment.
Rachel, ladies and gentlemen, she's with us. The book is A Manual for Creating Atheists. It's available on audio. It's available on paperback. The numbers look great. It's number 5 in epistemology, number 5 in atheism, number 9 in philosophy, 115 ratings, over a 4-star rating on Amazon. You're getting excellent reviews. We wish you the best of luck with this book and the upcoming TV show as well.
Thanks. Frankly, I never really check the stats of the book anymore, or I don't really Google myself or anything like that, so I don't really have any idea where it is. But I'm glad that people are liking it. I want to say that it's not important. What's more important than people liking it is that we need actionable tools to stop the spread of the faith virus, and people have to use the tools in the book. And so if I can do anything, it's to attempt to motivate your listeners to have very modest numbers at first. You know, try to help one person move 1 or 2 levels on the trans-theoretical model in 1 week. And then you can up those numbers, so you're helping. I can't do this alone. I can only help to liberate so many people of the faith virus. But what I want to do is I want to create a legion or an army of people, in one sense, who actively go out and help to liberate people of the faith virus. But then there's another set, perhaps a larger set of people. They have religious friends, they have religious relatives, or somebody approaches them. They can use the techniques too, so that the goal again is to deliver hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of micro-inoculations to the population on a daily basis, so we can finally attempt to really make some serious headway in the eradication of the faith virus. This is now a species-threatening event.
Beautifully said, and I would submit to you, back to our very first disagreement, I would submit to you that one of those tools that would help so much is more people honestly identifying as atheists. I feel like that's where it is strategically useful. The more people identify, the more people say that's who I am and I have rights too, and I don't want my rights to be infringed upon from the political perspective or whatever. The more you know one, the less it's a black hole, the less it's mysterious people we can continue to discriminate against. So I'm right there with you up to that 99% and say, and on top of that, I think it is strategically viable for us to identify as atheists.
I would also like to see role models of that type. When I was a little boy, there was a show called Perry Mason, in which you had a lawyer who was a very humanitarian person, but he was also nobody's fool. And it was the whole concept of being nobody's fool. You know, he wasn't going to listen to anybody's woo. That was all beneath him. And I would love for people to be able to accept and embrace reality, but when they start listening to the mumbo jumbo, they immediately recognize it as such and can put it beneath them.
Yeah, David, you may be right. I don't know. My initial reaction is that you're probably right. But you once again, you've given me something to think about. It's great to see everybody. Thank you for the invitation. And Aaron, it's good to see you, and it's good to meet folks. And I appreciate the time that you took with me today and the fact that you engaged some of these ideas substantively. So thanks.
Awesome. Well, everybody go check out the book. It's a manual for creating atheists. It's on Amazon. It's on Audible. Peter, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Take it easy, guys.
Peter Boghossian, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up next, Republicans say the darndest things, but it's a little more serious this time. There was an actual story that happened. It came out on CNN. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the details of it. Very serious segment coming up next on Dogma Debate. It's why we have this fight. It's why we do what we do. Stick around. More Dogma Debate coming up.
I'm Greta Christina, and I am the fourth listener.
If you've been missing out on our show week after week, let me catch you up on everything that is Dogma Debate.
In this song, you were specifically being condescending to atheists who talk to their children saying, we believe in nothing and I've broken your little heart and I'm ashamed to tell your little soul that we don't believe in anything and there's no hope. We don't talk to our kids that way.
Well,
so you put a target on yourself when you do that. Her name came to you at that point.
Yeah, her co-stars are Vyora Brezhneva.
Did you just say something backwards?
Why do you guys think there's so many smart scientists out there that don't believe in evolution?
That upset me.
It's so easy to take care of a rat, and I've had squirrels loose in my house regularly, and it's like
what do you
having
do in your house? Will Smith has already tweeted, if you're not listening to Dogma Debate with David Smalley, then you're making a horrible mistake.
So I do want to thank them tremendously. They showed me great respect and hospitality. I want to show them that kind of respect, and that doesn't mean I respect ideas. Okay, some ideas are ridiculous, and that's perfectly reasonable. In fact, ridiculing ideas is what makes progress. So if I offend some of you, I don't mean to offend you personally. I may offend some of your ideas. That doesn't bother me at all. In fact, if you confront my ideas, it will lead to a discussion. What does offend me, of course, is offending personal freedom and equal rights, equal rights, equal rights, equal rights. Equal rights.
What? I wasn't running or anything to get back in time. Rachel has no time limits. Look at her. Let's just wait till she sits down. Welcome back to Dogma Debate. Just kidding. We have fixed the video feed. If you're on login.dogmadebate.com and you're a Plus member, the video feed is fixed, so you can now see live inside the studio. Go to that live video section. I'm closing the portions of this stuff that doesn't slow us down. Okay. This is a tough one, and several times a year we come across these things that happen in reality that reminds us of why we fight so hard, of why we do what we do. You may have heard about this. It actually happened locally to the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas, and I actually heard about this before it made the national headlines. And I know a lot of the international listeners don't like it when we talk about things specifically local to Texas especially. But this is a good example as to why it is dangerous, why these types of things shouldn't happen. Out of respect for the family, I intentionally did not contact them because they are literally just less than 30 minutes away. And I literally did not contact the family because I don't want them to feel like I'm exploiting them. I don't want to do that because what this family has been put through has been horrendous. Marlise Munoz, she's a 33-year-old paramedic, was 14 weeks pregnant when a suspected pulmonary embolism rendered her brain dead in November. Her husband, who was a firefighter, Eric Munoz, knew that she did not want to be on life support. They had already talked about this and asked to have her removed once it was clear that she wouldn't recover. She wanted to end her life. She was brain dead. This should have been a done deal. her wishes should be granted. But doctors at John Peter Smith Hospital in Fort Worth, Texas, said they could not remove her because she was pregnant, and doing so would violate a Texas law. That law states a person may not withdraw or withhold life-sustaining treatment under this subchapter from a pregnant patient. Doctors confirmed that the now 22-week-old fetus was distinctly abnormal, with water on the brain, a heart condition, and lower extremity deformities. One doctor even said, "This fetus is not viable." The family then started to sue. They said that, this is difficult to talk about, difficult to imagine, but they were saying that she was literally going stiff in the hospital room. Now imagine this for a moment. You're already grieving. You already have this issue. She's not just in a coma, right? She is dead. She is brain dead. And the Texas law defines dead as the irreversible cessation of the person's spontaneous respiratory and circulatory functions. She was not coming back. So they had to prolong this death, losing his wife and her parents. Everyone wanted to let her go and move on with the process. And when he was originally contacted by several news stations, he said, look, I'm not going to make this a pro-choice, pro-life argument. It's not about that. This is about my family. This is about my wife wanting to be laid to rest. She needs to go. So basically they had to walk in this hospital room because technically by the time they determined her, now technically, she was brain dead at 14 weeks pregnant. The Texas state law doesn't start until 20 weeks. So they should have been able to do it beforehand. But by the time they said, yeah, go ahead and take her off of life support, she's not going to make it. Oh, now the fetus is over 20 weeks old. So they said, well, we can't do it. And so they made this woman lay there and the family go through all this. And this may sound a little superficial, but think about the hospital expense that the government is forcing them to take on because she has a fetus. And again, this is giving more rights to the unborn fetus, which is not human. It is not a baby. It is not a child. It is an unborn fetus. They are an underdeveloped, not yet developed fetus. They're giving that fetus more rights than the baby, more rights than the mother, more rights than the family, more rights than her as an adult with her DNS order. Aaron, you wanted to say something?
I'm just thinking that
DNR order. Sorry.
What rights could the baby have being inviable, having water on the brain, having no capacity to be human? I mean, only in the strictest sense can it be classified.
When did they determine that it was abnormal?
Right near the end. And I think that was part of the judge's ruling, because they ended up ruling on this in the family's favor. Finally, the judge said that this does not apply to Munoz because she's not a patient. She's dead.
Do you think it would have been a different ruling if the child in pro-life
I think so.
supporters would think?
I think so.
If it was normal?
I think that personally, and this is pure speculation, just because I've seen these things happen, I think that had a lot to do with the decision. But the judge is not going to come out and say, well, the child is going to have mental disabilities, so kill it. I mean, obviously, a judge would not say that, and nobody would advocate that on either side of this argument. But I think that had something to do with it. No, and think about it. Think about it in these terms. What if they continued on? What if they continued on like a lot of conservatives say they would have forced her to stay alive?
She would have been just a vessel for...
She would have been a vessel for this baby to be born with tons
wrong.
and tons and tons of problems that now the father would have to take on completely alone, all against both of their wishes. And then, do you think the government, those same hardcore GOP conservative Republicans, are going to reach out with all of these benefits and helping? Hell no, they don't want social medicine. Hell no, they don't want Medicare. It's going to be, oh, now you're one of the 47%. Get off your lazy ass and get a job.
Yeah, well, we've also seen how important it is, when you have the right to life as long as it's in the womb, and then once it's out, then they don't care anymore.
Yeah, no, they're just pro-fetus. They're not pro-life. They could give a damn about actual quality of anybody's life. They don't want to help anybody's life get better, and that's what's frustrating. But anyway, the judge agreed, saying that that this rule, this law, does not apply. As a matter of fact, after nearly 2 months, the Munoz family sued the hospital on January 14th and said that they were misinterpreting the law. The judge agreed and said doesn't apply to Munoz because she's not a patient. She's a dead body lying there. She needs to be buried. She's not a patient. And that was the end of it. Last Sunday morning, she was removed from life support, and the family actually named the fetus Nicole, and they buried both of them. And so the family is now finally able to move on. But this is part of the problem. Go ahead, Rachel.
I was about to say, it probably didn't move on the Republican side of opinions, did it?
No. As a matter of fact, just this last Monday, there are 4 people running for lieutenant governor of Texas. The existing lieutenant governor and 3 other knuckleheads. And our 4th listener, Matt, who signed his email, 4th listener, Matt the Bad Republican, sent me this audio, and I think I'm going to be able to pull a lot of Republicans say the darndest things out of this debate. This literally happened in the first 5 minutes. All 4 of them got 1 minute each to specifically talk about this case, which I was going to talk about today anyway. So let's have a listen as to what all of these lieutenant governors, all running for Texas, all of these lieutenant governors would have done if they were completely in charge, if they were the judge.
Commissioner, John Peter Smith Hospital in Fort Worth unplugged life support for a brain-dead pregnant woman yesterday after a judge sided with her family who wanted her taken off that support in spite of her pregnancy. Should the state require hospitals to keep patients on life support in situations like this, or should it honor the wishes of the family, whatever those might be?
It's a tragic intersection of right-to-life concerns and when does life end as far as the mother in this case. The law has conflicted because under Texas law, when you're brain dead, you're dead. Also under Texas law, post the most recent legislative session, 20 weeks is the standard by which terminating a pregnancy is not lawful.
Okay, now hold on. First of all, some people may be shocked to know that. You cannot terminate a pregnancy in Texas anymore after 20 weeks. Abortion is now illegal at 21 weeks.
When was that passed?
Just recently.
Recently?
Yeah.
What was it before that?
It was Rick Perry. I don't know. I don't think there was one. Or if it was, it was super, super late. I don't remember exactly.
That was passed in June.
June?
Early June, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the session that got an 11-hour filibuster from Wendy Davis.
Yes, that's right.
So part of the problem of what he just said is that the law is conflicting in the state of Texas. When you're brain dead, you're dead. That's not necessarily the truth. The actual wording of the law is a person may not withdraw or withhold life-sustaining treatment under the subchapter from a pregnant patient. Well, if they consider her a pregnant patient, she's sustaining life in the baby. She's then, like you said, a vessel, right? And the definition of death isn't brain dead. It's the irreversible cessation of the person's spontaneous respiratory and circulatory functions. It doesn't say anything about brain dead. Respiratory and circulatory functions. She was breathing through a machine and the blood was flowing. So it doesn't say if you're brain dead, you're dead. Technically, according to the state of Texas, she was alive. Mm-hmm. It's an inaccurate definition of death, but they need to fix that, I think, too.
Well, I think death isn't 100%. There's no line. I mean, functions drop off one by one after, you become brain dead or you lose, you have a heart attack, stops. I mean, functions are dropped off one by one. I mean, your nails keep growing, your hair keeps growing. So, I mean, I think it's a very difficult thing to change because no one agrees on when death is, especially if it's a pregnant woman.
Right.
You're going to have the people on the right saying, well, she still has her teeth are still growing 0.3 centimeters per 10 years. She should still stay on life support. Go. Yeah. It's a baby.
And then who's paying the bill? Who's paying for 2 months in ICU with all those Oh, goodness.
The person that under the law is brain dead, and we have a 20-week conflicting statute. In my view, we should always err on the side of life. And in this case, there was an unborn child, which was past the 20-week statutory limit on abortions. So I'm not sure who was the right case here, but I would always err on the side of life. And I'm not sure that's what happened in the final analysis with the judge's ruling.
All right, so that's the first guy. They're like puppets. You can predict exactly what they're going to say. But I'll say this. Brennan on Twitter just said, it's disgusting how much suffering lawmakers are willing to inflict for an ideology.
Especially when they won't, as you mentioned before, also support them with any kind of social medicine, any kind of medical aid.
That's the twisted part. The liberals, these left-wing nuts, as they call us, who want to...
Bunch of hippies.
Yeah, a bunch of us damn hippies who actually want to go out and support socialized medicine or support things that are helping the poor and helping women who have 8 kids and can't afford to take care of them. Those who want to support programs like that, we're saying allow abortions. Allow these women to make decisions about their body because it will likely reduce this. Yep. But the conservatives want to force everybody to have every child that's ever conceived and then go, oh, no.
Well, we also fight contraception, and we do the abstinence only, which has been proven not to work, and that's why Texas has the nation's highest rate of repeat teen pregnancies.
Dr. Patrick.
Life is so precious. And there's nothing more precious than the life of a baby in the womb. And regardless of the circumstances surrounding that life, we should always do everything to protect that life. I appreciate the hospital fighting to preserve that life and save that life. And
what he means by fighting is I appreciate the hospital denying that woman her right to make a decision about her body and her own death, and I appreciate the hospital fighting that family's wishes to say goodbye to their loved one. I appreciate the hospital fighting to take away rights of every person and give all the legitimacy to the fetus.
And also sustaining the suffering at a cost.
Exactly.
So I appreciate that hospital continuing to bill these people for their unnecessarily prolonged suffering.
It is very clear from my record passing the sonogram bill, passing one of the bills in the package of bills this session, that I've been a strong pro-life senator.
I think that sonogram bill he's talking about is that before women get an abortion, they have to look at the sonogram, they have to listen to the heartbeat.
Yeah, because women are not intelligent enough to understand that there's a baby there. You need to look at this and then think twice about killing your baby. I think
he's proud of that. He's proud of passing those types of things.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of anything more tragic than the situation that we had, both for the family and the difficulty for the hospital. But at the end of the decision, we're born in the image of God. And whenever we have the opportunity to preserve life, we should do that. That's our duty. As Christians, that's our duty, I believe, as legislators.
That is the point. That is the point of my freaking existence right there. No, you don't. You have the right to believe it. You don't have the right to legislate based on your superstition.
Yeah.
That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, I have enough of a problem just when they take their speculation and assert it as fact. My problem's way back there. We've gone so far past that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this is an impediment to everybody else's rights. This is unnecessarily billing people for prolonged. You're saying that your pig ignorance is going to govern everybody else's lives, and that you refuse to be reasonable where that is concerned. You're not even going to consider the facts. They don't matter what the particulars are, because he says regardless. Our job, as following along the way we've been told to react thoughtlessly, is to do these things without thinking. Well, of course it is.
Right. Our job as Christians is to legislate. Where the hell does it say that?
In the Dominionist Handbook.
Apparently.
The court made a wrong decision.
Okay, Commissioner Staples.
It doesn't sound like she was on board with him.
Okay.
I guess they're all idiots.
Do we have anybody running for lieutenant governor who isn't? Do we have any Anybody
No,
that
all 4 Republicans.
Really?
Yep.
we've got no
And
Democrats out there at all. No
Zero.
independents.
Zero.
Nothing.
Well, hold on.
We've
Sorry.
only got right-wing nuts.
Hold on.
That's it.
These 4 are debating for the GOP primary.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be a Democrat on the other side. I don't know. This was all 4 Republicans debating each other, fighting for the nomination.
A wrong decision.
Okay, Commissioner Staples.
What the Munoz family had to face and endure is just unthinkable for most families, and our hearts certainly go out to them in this.
Oh, wow.
Boy, he just makes us sound so stupid, I tell you what.
That was painful. I can usually listen to Hick, but that was painful. I didn't even hear the words he was saying.
You know what I would do? Here's what I would do. I would be like,
Don't let that boy next to a microphone.
I'm turning it up, Trent. Don't worry. That's what I would. I'd be like, yes, sir. Your answer. Well, I think it's. Never mind. Just never mind.
Okay.
I think it's a tragedy any time somebody's got to. Hey, hold on. I need you to shut up for a second. Can you just go sit down?
Somebody just tell him, run, Forrest, run.
Here's how a real country boy
But what we
acts.
have here is a situation that there was life, and I think it's the responsibility of us as a society to have laws and regulations that encourages life and protects life and tries to find a viable way to continue to promote that life. And
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Forrest Gump is running for lieutenant governor of Texas.
Translate what he just said, because I couldn't.
I heard life and life.
I heard box of chocolates.
Life. Then there's some life, and we got to protect it.
I do believe that the court erred in this situation. I think the next legislative session we're going to have to go in and clarify what the meaning of the statute is in order to remove.
Goodness, could you imagine if your surgeon came out talking to you like that? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to open you up and dig around a little bit. We're going to take some stuff out, put it back in. Hopefully you'll be good to go. I need to go, please. May I leave?
I'm going to go get another opinion.
May I leave immediately? Unfortunately, we just passed a law. You can't leave. You signed the paperwork. Get up here and lay down. Have you a shot of whiskey.
Once you're in a hospital, you susceptible to the experts, and that's me.
That's me.
We have administrative ownership over y'all now.
Good.
Don't worry. I done went to that medical school, and they learned me to cut gooder, so I'm good to go.
Well, Rachel, thank you for the compliment. Now, this accent's pretty easy. When you've lived in as many trailer parks as I have, you get it down.
Let me tell you what. This ain't an act. I fight this every day. This damn thing not coming out.
Well, I tell you what, I get a few drinks in me, and this natural homeboy comes out.
It's funny. Nicole was over here one day, and I was talking to my dad on the phone, and she said that came out as soon as I talked to my dad. She's like, she said, you're talking all normal, everything's fine. Then you're like, hey, how you doing, man? How you been? Oh, I'm good. I'm walking around the house talking on the phone.
I did the same. I did the same thing. We broke down on the side of the road. I'm with my wife, and this guy. There's a house right there. This guy's willing to lend me some tools, help out. Right? He's got a Harley on the side of his house, and we start talking bikes. And I don't know what it is that I said or how I said it, but
I bet you said something like, "I tell you what."
She said, "What's up with you all suddenly talking all biker?" What'd I do?
I'll let these jackasses finish.
It is an extremely difficult set of circumstances, but we need to make certain that as a society we are protecting life and that we are giving unborn children to have the opportunity to grow and to mature and to ultimately live the American dream right here in the Lone Star State.
Do you really think that child would have grown and enjoyed the American freedoms?
With water on the brain, and that guy is your lieutenant governor, yeah, he could have been lieutenant governor. That little kid, yeah. Yep.
Inviable.
Yeah, we don't even know that the fetus would have grown to make it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, more than
it would have had disabilities.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But aside from that, even one doctor said the fetus is not viable, meaning it wouldn't even have survived.
But you don't understand
that
that would have created a loophole in the legislation that they were so proud of pushing through in June.
Yeah.
them in this particular instance, it's very difficult for them, I know.
Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst.
So this is the guy that's actually in charge right now.
Yeah, this is the guy who also falsified on that very law that we're talking about, who falsified the document when they didn't get it pushed through on the date that they were supposed to, in front of 180,000 online witnesses, falsified the date to make it look like they'd done it on time.
Because they did it past midnight, and he falsified the documents and backdated it.
And yet it took 3 hours to explain to him that he's not going to be able to get away with falsifying the records in front of all those witnesses with screenshots before and after the forgery already all over the internet.
He should have been arrested.
Why is this not a criminal matter? Why is he running for election again after falsifying documents this way? Why is no one pressing charges?
Why is he not in jail? Exactly. Why is he not in jail?
LOL, JK, guys. Haha. That's pretty much what he did, probably. LOL,
because
JK
corrupt
works.
political officials are untouchable,
Well,
apparently.
here he goes. Let's hear him.
Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst.
I think this case was decided wrong. I'm a strong believer in the sanctity of life. This baby had passed 20 weeks. This baby could have been born. And so I think it was decided wrong. I have always sided with the side of life. And that's why I'm proud that before I came in as Lieutenant Governor, only one piece of pro-life legislation had ever been passed in the history of the state of Texas, and 6 or 7 major bills have passed since I came in. And so I would have, if I'd been in that judge's shoes, I would have ruled differently.
I'm so sick of, I side on the side of life.
Because
we don't.
What opposes that? Death.
Right. We love death.
You're pro baby
I'm not
murder.
for people living. No,
So
of course
someone that cannot learn, that cannot communicate, cannot think as a proper person will need artificial apparatus in order to breathe, and whose existence will only expend for what, a couple, 3.
Oh no, allocate funding. No.
Yeah, a couple, 3, tentative, painful years at best. And this is where they get off on their sanctity of life. This is really disturbing.
It is, and it's like they have these talking points,
and they don't think. You can tell.
No,
there's not a
they,
thought among any of them, and that's what I said about when you bring up that loophole in the law, that they would actually have to think in terms of extenuating circumstances.
Right.
These guys deal with black and white dichotomies. Extenuating circumstances are orders of judgment. You would need intellect and thought to go through those and analyze those and consider those, and these people don't consider a whole hell of a lot.
No. But at this point, they're not actually trying to make a difference in anything. What they're trying to do is get elected. So they've got their little campaign people teaching them buzzwords like right to life and God and Christian and sustaining and on the side of life. And they don't even say anything in between that supports it. They just get up there and go, well, grassy lawns, cupcakes, Jesus, right to life, address, stars, popsicles, Christian way. Thank you.
And all I want to
what
add to that.
What the hell was that? What do you even mean?
Amen.
So if you and I realize we have a lot of international listeners and everything, but seriously, if you live in Texas and you've got the means to do it, it looks like there's a job that just might come available that might require an intelligent, thinking, compassionate person, because we don't seem to have anyone of that qualification currently running for the position.
People are tweeting right now that there are, in fact, Democrats running. So let's go get them on the air.
Everything's going to crap.
And I think what you said, black and white, they always think that way. And I kind of got stuck on that because it is true that the Republicans work in black and white. They don't see gray. They don't acknowledge gray. And if there is a gray, whenever liberals go, hey, this is an in-between, what do? We feel upset about this. They'll go, nope, lump it, black or white, and that's it. Yeah. And that's, I think, why we always disagree, because I think liberals or Democrats or people on the left, especially atheists, acknowledge the grays. We acknowledge the middle ground.
And the few that are forced to change their mind.
Right.
When a Republican senator has a gay son, he goes, okay, well, hold on. I see the struggles.
Yeah.
I see the emotional differences. I see the sociological struggles. I see what's happening. And guys, I realize I'm physically conservative. I don't want socialized medicine, yada, yada, yada. But I do support gay marriage because I would like my son to marry his partner and be happy.
Right.
And for him to have those rights. And whenever they're forced to realize there's a gray area, they become progressive too. Mm-hmm. It's because most of them don't have to deal with it. That's all it comes down to.
Or they're hiding it because they're, having homosexual behavior by themselves.
Bump chicka wang wang. Coming up next, wearing the kirpan. Should you be able to carry a sword into a government building
Like a samurai. That's kind of cool, but not.
because of your freedom of religion? How far will this country go to protect your freedom of religion? By the way, I am now 9mm-ists. More Dogma Debate coming up.
This isn't just about debating. This is about making a difference.
Gain comfort in finally having control over your life. Gain comfort in knowing just the fact that you were born is an amazing thing.
Dogma Debate helped me during the beginning stage of my journey of unbelief.
The evolution segment is definitely my favorite segment.
And when I couldn't talk to my friends and family about my beliefs, it was very refreshing listening to Dogma Debate.
Come on, guys. Do I really need to sit and talk to you about hominids for the next 4 hours? Because I don't want to do it.
When I would look at the universe and then I would try to squeeze God into it, things didn't make sense anymore.
No, it's just Trent being crazy with machinery in his home.
The hosts have really good chemistry with each other.
As the podcast has grown, I have as well, and I'd like to think that Dogma Debate did have something to do with that.
Rachel and Jerry DeWitt are very friendly, and Trent makes it unique with his drops.
When I realized that the Fourth was strong with Dogma Debate, I found that I had access to the best community of atheists and secular humanists available.
Rachel to the rescue!
I've learned a lot. It's very entertaining and informative.
Very entertaining from a secular perspective.
Dogma Debate definitely highlighted my week.
Dogma Debate gave me the courage to reach out and become an activist in the movement myself.
My name is Trace Madison, and I'm the Fourth Listener.
I am Jonathan Good, and I am the Fourth Listener.
I am Jesse, and I am the Fourth Listener.
I am Anthony Harden, and I am the Fourth Listener.
If you've been missing Dogma Debate, man, it sucks to be you.
Just wiggle it. I don't know. Jiggle it. Hope that was on video. Goodness gracious.
Tell me if it's better.
Yeah.
Are you wiggling it for him?
Nope. It's off again.
Well, this show is getting really inappropriate.
It's all about sex.
Okay, right? Yeah.
Wow, guys. Wow.
Now we're sorry to both Kyles. Kyle
Yes.
Butt and Rachel's boyfriend both. So apparently, this woman was working for the IRS, and she was wearing what's called a kirpan. She is Sikh, by the way. In the Sikh religion, they have 5 articles of faith. One of the articles of faith is, in fact, a kirpan. And I'm going to pull this up right here for you in the studio. This is a kirpan.
Ooh.
It is, in fact, what they call a ceremonial dagger.
That's a very interesting dagger.
But it's beautiful. I mean,
Yes.
it's awesome. Aaron probably owns 7, I would guess.
I've only ever had 2.
Okay. Well,
but that's not a joke. I've actually had 2.
Nice little hook on it.
Yeah, and if you want to look it up, it's Kirpan, kirpan.
I'm a freak.
And if wait a minute, is that a sign? Hold on. No weapons are allowed inside the bank except for kirpans by Sikhs.
Yeah, that's from where?
Yeah, I don't know. But
Bangalore? Yep, Bangalore.
the point is that they say, oh, it's just religious symbolism. Oh, it's just this. Oh, it's just that. So I did a lot of research on why they would wear the kirpan. And
Yeah, is it like mandatory for them
it's
to
what
wear it?
baptized kirpans are supposed to do. Like if you're the real thing, that's what you do. The Sikhs who refuse to wear it or say, I don't really need to do that, they will say, it doesn't make me any less of a Sikh. I mean, I'm still just as faithful.
They won't be punished by their God.
No. But the hardcore baptized ones that have it, they feel like they are the true warriors for the guru, because the guru is the one that has blessed them with the right, and I'm quoting this guy I'm about to play, with the right to defend themselves and others. So this is not ceremonial. It's not a little dangling dagger hanging off of a hat or something cute. This is wearing a freaking knife, okay? It's wearing a knife. And so here's what this guy, he doesn't even say his name anywhere. It's just answers about the Sikh belief system on YouTube. Listen to what he says about why they wear the kirpan.
Why do Sikhs wear a kirpan? The kirpan to us has two main meanings. One is defense of ourselves. So Guru has given us the right to defend ourselves. And also the second bit is that we have the right to defend other people. Now, this is an interesting point. We have a right to exercise Guru's power to defend other people, regardless of what the governments of the place think. So the kirpan for us is a...
Did you catch that? Regardless of what the government or the police think, the Guru has granted them the right to defend themselves and others. They try to spin this and say, well, it's primarily to defend other people. You're admitting it's a weapon for violence.
Regardless what the government, meaning the law.
The law.
Okay.
Exactly. You're admitting it's a weapon that someone just might get stabbed with. And then they start talking about if someone is attacked. Well, now we have to talk about how you define attack.
So,
what if someone says your belief is stupid? What if someone makes fun of your head covering? What if someone makes fun of your beard? Do you consider that enough reason to stab them?
So the Guru then is literally above the law.
Yes.
And so whatever he decrees is above the law.
Absolutely.
Defend other people, regardless of what the governments of the place think. So the kirpan for us is God's grace upon the Khalsa Panth that they've been given a shastra being the weapon, a weapon straight from God. So the Khalsa has been given the hukum to defend other people and also defend itself. So it's only to be used as a weapon of grace, never an offense. One of the reasons I think it's important for the kirpan, to understand about the kirpan is...
This is the scariest part. This is what he thinks is the most important part about it. Okay?
Stops you from being a very pacifist person, because most people see a problem and they'll say, I can't do anything because I didn't have any tools to help. You know, somebody's getting mugged or raped or whatever. But the Khalsa has been enjoined that we can never choose to be self-interested in a situation like that. And that's why we have been given this amazing thing of the kirpan. It's actually encouraged us to be proactive in helping other people and not being reactive or pacifist.
Not being reactive, but pulling a weapon.
Now, where are they trying to take this into?
She was working for the IRS and wanted to take this dagger into the IRS building where she was working.
And they do not allow weapons.
They do not allow knife blades over 2.5 inches. So she can have a pocket knife. Hers happened to be 3 inches long. I know.
Ugh.
I know.
It's like whenever you get...
Most of them are much bigger
your
than
perfume thrown out whenever you try to get on an airplane.
God, that happened to me. I was a whole bottle of Gucci cologne like a year ago.
Oh, Mr. Fancy Man.
My mom bought it for me. It was a Christmas present.
Or Mama's
but
Boy.
But still, I was
one.
like, and I told him, I was like, you're just going to keep this. You're just going to keep this, aren't you?
Yeah, their trash can.
Yeah, their trash can looks a lot
full
like...
of expensive
looks
perfume
a lot like your...
and lotion.
Why does your trash can look a lot like your damn suitcase? That is not cool.
It smells really good.
It's got a little jar of honey in there.
You were carrying honey? Is that what you... What?
I know I'm just a weirdo.
So she was fired, and it was upheld. It was said, you know what?
She refused.
She refused to take it off and leave it in her vehicle. And she said, this is part of my religion. You're infringing upon my religious freedom.
How long had she been working for them? She hadn't figured out that...
I don't know.
I mean, they probably have it in the employee manual.
She began working for the IRS in July 2004 and was formally initiated into the religion on April 2005. So she worked there before she was a part of the religion.
I don't know.
And then was obligated to wear the kirpan. Her 9-inch kirpan is sheathed under her shirt but she agreed to wear a shorter 6-inch kirpan when her supervisor expressed concerns. She's walking in there with a 9-inch dagger.
No one is going to mess with her.
It's like a freaking butcher knife from the kitchen. Just hanging up. Oh, just my religious. Don't F with me. That's all it is.
Those reports. I mean, just take your time. Just take your time with those reports. Don't worry about it.
Despite giving the IRS information on the kirpan, it insisted that no knife beyond 2.5 inches would be allowed. They've been barred from courts in Canada. Other nations continue to charge Sikhs with carrying weapons, as in a recent Danish case.
Now, why are they allowed to have like 2-inch knives, like pocket knives?
Oh, you know, like Arn probably carries a pocket knife. Most guys do. They carry little pocket knives.
You could kill somebody with that too.
Yeah, while you're bringing this up, when I lived in Arizona had open weapons, and you get really used to carrying a giant Bowie knife on your leg everywhere. I mean, I had one with a 12-inch blade.
I don't carry knives.
You'd be surprised when you've got one. When you've got a 12-inch Bowie, you need it for everything. I used to use it for opening cans.
I don't know how I feel about it. What do you feel like, David? Do you think?
I think there's one rule for every damn body. And if it says no weapons, if it says no blades over a certain inch, you either, just like I did with the lady who wanted to wear the damn head covering at Target. If it's the rule, it's the rule. Don't freaking work there. You decided. I don't like bending these rules for people, and this is just one of those extreme cases that proves my point.
But you see what you're doing. You're putting man's law above guru's law.
Oh, no, not the guru.
Because that's just another person of God, right? So, I mean, all you got to do is claim to be, one of the representatives of the magic invisible genie that people pretend to worship, and then you can lay out any ruling you want to have people do ridiculous things. Stupid hairstyles, weird clothes, carrying knives, whacking off pizzas of themselves that are offensive, those sorts of things, yeah.
Tell me you got that clean, right? You got him saying that.
Because when it's like when Rachel said, when you walk into a government building with a sword, and she says, "Oh, like a samurai," and I was thinking, yes, samurai rabbi, because you never know when you might have to. Well, never.
That wasn't the last samurai movie.
Out to my pee-pee.
Katsumura tried to bring in a samurai sword into the new westernized government council, and the new council did not allow him to bring in his samurai sword to protect the emperor that he has been sworn to protect his whole life. It's the samurai way, but they made him leave. But I mean, the movie obviously skewed it in the, oh no, how dare they kick him out of the council? He's a true samurai. But I mean, you don't really need to bring a samurai sword into a government meeting.
That's the thing. It's not about that. They say that you're infringing upon her religious freedom. Her lawyers in the case said that the kirpan is defined, according to the IRS, as a dangerous weapon by the agency. While it allows sharp scissors, letter openers, knives, and box cutters, kirpans have been found by prosecutors to be so blunt as to fall outside of weapons categories.
What are they for if they're not weapons? Do people just take them out when they need to cut some paper?
Well, no, you wouldn't, because they said it's blunt. They said it doesn't count because it's dull. Why would it be a weapon?
But
well, how are you supposed to be proactive in your violent reaction?
How are you supposed to help and be proactive
if it's a dull weapon?
If it's a blunt weapon.
Here's the scary part.
Why don't you just carry a big, heavy cane?
I'm part of the First Baptist Church of Tasers. You can't take this from me. I'm sorry, you're going to infringe upon my...
Can they bring a taser into the IRS building? Be interesting.
I don't know. Let's try it. Walk in there with your 9mm on your hip and just go...
Field trip.
Sorry, we're gunnists. You can't infringe upon my religious freedom.
From the Church of the Big Heavy Club.
By the way, this is how we have to sign our documents. That's my signature, bitches. It's part of my religion. I mean, it's really incredible. The scary part is a judge recently reviewed her being fired a few years ago. They've reopened the investigation, saying that it was unlawful and an infringement upon her religion. The Fifth Circuit's decision in Houston, Texas, by the way, The U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals issued its opinion on the historic Urban case. The decision came in after a long blah, 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 blah. They're actually going to send it back to court now.
How far can they take that eventually?
Probably Supreme Court, I think.
I mean, like religious freedoms and people bringing stuff to work they're not supposed to, or saying things, or... I mean, eventually if a Muslim threatens a Christian for being an infidel against Allah, I mean, is that... And they fire him for it. I mean, is that some sort of infringement against his religious freedom?
Yeah, you know, my religion decrees that I carry the sacred Uzi just like Jesus did.
What is a sacred Uzi?
Their reasoning here says that the panel concluded that the current submitted evidences did not support the government's position of banning the Quran. So either they want better evidence that a knife can kill someone.
I don't know. Yeah, we don't have thousands and thousands of years of that being...
The government now has the burden of proof that the application of the law furthers a compelling government interest in at least restricting the Quran. So now they have to prove that it's dangerous. Really? There's already...
They might kill
Let's run an experiment.
There's already a rule against it. Why? That is so frustrating when religious people... Look, it's one thing when it's clothing. It's one thing when it's, I have to wear purple, but our uniform is yellow and black. You have to wear yellow and... Yeah, but my religion says I have to wear purple.
Well,
that's the wrong.
Says you
that's
wear
the wrong
somewhere
team.
else.
You can't be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader and dress like the Seattle Seahawks. You can't do it. Yeah, but my religion requires blue and green. Sorry. Okay, well, this one girl gets to wear this awesome uniform that she wants to because we wouldn't want to infringe upon her happiness. What? Why? Why are we doing that? Why are we bending the rules and laying down for all the religious people? I don't get it.
Can't we just put in a law that if your religion says that you have to have special rights over everybody else, that your religion also allows that you can go someplace else?
Oh, of course. Of course. That's the beauty of it. We're not saying you have to work here. We're saying if you choose to work here, here are the rules you're going to follow. Like, Aaron, if your job came to you and said from now on you have to have your hair above the shoulder, you would say goodbye. Or you would cut your hair. You wouldn't say...
Or put on a wig like you did that one time.
I'm going with goodbye.
I figured. That's the problem. Anyway, I just find it appalling that we continue to make exceptions for these types of folks and these special religious... it's just so frustrating. It's so damn frustrating. The special treatment. And it's not just the special treatment, it's you give me special treatment or you're infringing upon my rights. Meanwhile, they include in their rights the ability to legislate and take rights away from other people, while they continue to break all of society's rules with their special banner of their guru or Jesus, insert God name here.
The first thing I ever heard Ted Haggard say was, we as Christians have a right to, I'm paraphrasing, we as Christians have a right to oppress other people. He was talking about treat certain people differently is what he said, but it's with the same meaning. He wanted to take away the homosexuals' equal rights at employment or housing.
Unbelievable. Coming up next, celebrities you didn't know were religious. After that, it's a letter from hell, and apparently I'm taking a science quiz. I don't like this.
I'm taking it too.
More Dogma Debate coming up.
You're complaining that religion is entering its way into the government, not because you're an atheist. You're complaining because you know that will interfere with rational governance. Yeah. So you want rational governance. You would be just as vehement if someone wanted to put astrology in the government or crystal reading. And that has nothing to do with whether you're an atheist. So the fact that you're an atheist means you're actually conducting yourself in ways where you don't have to be an atheist to conduct yourself in those ways. And I've separated all those variables, at least for myself.
If you've been missing Dogma Debate, man, it sucks to be you.
Hey, Fourth Listener, I encourage you to go check out login.dogmadebate.com to take advantage of your Fourth Listener status. Trust me, it's worth it.
Aaron, do you know of any religious celebrities off the top of your head that people may not know are religious?
That other people may not know. No, the only ones I'm thinking of are the ones that have made themselves notorious.
Yes. Tom Cruise.
Mel Gibson.
Does he count?
Mel Gibson really disappointed me because I heard all kinds of wacky stories about how his religion when he was young, and I liked Mel Gibson at a certain point in my life, and I thought, well, I thought this guy was really cool, and then I'd start hearing these really hardcore Catholic things that he supposedly did or believed, and I thought it was ridiculous propaganda, and then of course we get the stories from the news.
CNN recently put out a list.
Who's she?
What are you thinking about?
That was I thought of somebody because I recently watched her on an interview. And Full House, the oldest sister in the Full House,
Candace
extremely
Cameron.
religious.
That's Kirk Cameron's sister.
Oh, well, that makes sense because she wrote a book about how her marriage has lasted, and it's all pretty much about her being a submissive role in her marriage to her husband.
That is Kirk Cameron's sister.
Seriously?
They grew up sipping some funny smelling Kool-Aid.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, Candace Cameron.
Well, it's because she's submissive. It's the reason her marriage has worked.
That was my 90s crush when I was a kid.
Is it gone now?
Oh, absolutely. Justin Bieber tops the list.
Uh-oh.
Who was arrested on Thursday, was raised in a Christian household by his evangelical mother, apparently while she was on drugs. In a 2011 interview with the Rolling Stone, Bieber said, I feel I have an obligation to plant little seeds with my fans. I'm not going to tell them you need Jesus, but I'll say at the end of my show, God loves you.
Is he a surfer boy?
Sprinkle Jesus dust on it.
I don't know. Julia Roberts, but not what you think. The star of Eat, Pray, Love, and countless other movies says she and her family chant and pray at a Hindu temple.
She's Hindu.
I'm definitely a practicing Hindu, she told People magazine in 2011.
Which is weird because the picture we're looking at right now looks like she can fire lasers out of her eyeballs.
I think she looks beautiful.
I have to agree with Aaron.
A little scary.
I have to agree with Aaron here. She looks... Those are the eyes of a believer. Natalie Portman was raised in a Jewish household in Long Island, New York. She now jokes that, like, every Jewish role comes to me.
That's not the way she speaks.
That's how she speaks today. Pop star Prince became a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, there's a surprise.
Became a Jehovah's Witness in 2001. How do you...
What was he before?
I don't know.
What about him screams Jehovah's Witness, Aaron?
No. He was weirdly religious in the 80s. We just didn't know what weird religion.
He has done everything weird.
I mean, he's like the living example of Michael Jackson's line out of Thriller. I'm not like other guys.
He does have a zebra turtleneck on right now.
I mean, this was the guy...
Aaron Rodgers did an impersonation of Michael Jackson. I want to make that clear, that just happened on this show. It says he became a Jehovah's Witness in 2001 and has even gone door to door to share his faith with others. Sometimes people act surprised, he told The New Yorker in 2008. Wait, why would he say that? Yeah, 2008.
So he knocks on the door, somebody opens it. Hi, and then he holds up a card with his symbol on it because he can't say his name anymore. Remember that period where he was the artist formerly known as Prince, who's now known as some unintelligible gobbledygook?
Oh, Prince.
2000 party over, oops, out of time. I bring this up a lot for people that, when I was raised, I grew up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and I remember people talking about how the end of the world was going to happen in 2000, right? We hit the year 2000, Y2K, that was the end of the world. I heard this for like 30 years. When the time comes, everybody forgot that was the deadline. And I have to remind people. I thought it was
when the doves cry.
I have to remind people, like 10 years later, I'm saying, you remember this song, 2000 party over? What the hell does that mean? Party like it's 1999? What's he talking about? Nobody knows. Everybody plays dumb.
People still say I'm going to party like it's 1999 now. I'm like, what do you mean you have really bad hair and superstitions?
In
What does
the
that mean?
80s, you ask anybody in the 80s what that meant. Oh, well, that's going to be the end of the world. That's when Jesus comes
I
back.
was in the 5th grade.
What? 99? Really?
I was in the 5th grade, yeah. I remember our shirts. It said 99 on the back, and we all had to sign it. And it was in elementary school.
I was
6th grade in 2000.
I was playing for a band, and I was the drummer for a heavy metal band, and we opened for Pantera in 99.
I was going into social studies. If y'all can remember that class.
Wow. Tiger Woods repeatedly invoked his Buddhist faith during his public apology for marital infidelity in 2010. People probably don't realize it, he said, but I was raised a Buddhist, and I actively practiced my faith from childhood until I drifted away from it in recent years. Something about alcohol and sexy women can pull you right out of that Buddhist faith.
And it's so many, it's funny that you talk to a bunch of Buddhists and they say that there is no faith in their religion. So I'm a little confused here.
Yeah, there are small sects of Buddhism that they actually worship Siddhartha as a godhead, but they're typically a minority in the Buddhist community.
That's the funny thing with Buddhism. You just roll a dice,
Any, mini, money, mo.
Right, exactly.
Former boxer Mike Tyson told Fox News in December that he's very grateful to be a Muslim. Allah doesn't need me, I need Allah, said the one-time heavyweight champion. Oh, Mike Tyson. Singer Alice Cooper always believed in Christ, but wouldn't have considered himself a Christian before giving up his rock star lifestyle, he said in an interview with the Huffington Post.
Yeah, rock star.
Is that a microphone in a holster?
Christian
Yeah,
life.
see, I had
not compatible.
I had an album by Alice Cooper, and I liked almost every song on it, except there was this one that was irritating, where the lyrics of the song implied that he took Adam and Eve to be a historic event, that it was that was history.
Where Eve slept with the snake.
Alice Cooper. I've never been a fan of her music.
I don't know who that is.
She's a horrifically ugly woman.
Why does he have a crutch with him?
What?
Is it covered in blood?
Quit playing this game with her.
Sorry. Actor Mark Wahlberg is serious about his Catholic faith. Even so, he joked about his risque roles with CNN's Jake Tapper recently. He said, "I hope God's a movie fan. I want to explain Boogie Nights at the right time."
I like him. That's unfortunate.
Once again, I'd like to remind everybody, Morgan Freeman is not a man of God, even though he is God.
I do like Morgan Freeman. Yep, he's pretty cool.
Former American Idol contestant David Archuleta went on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, better known as the Mormons, after his stint on American Idol.
I didn't know that they were the Mormons. That's what took over my old church. It says the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day.
You edited the book, The Mormons, the Church of Latter-day Saints.
It didn't click. Wow, they took over our church.
God, I need to go back and listen to that book you proofed, because apparently you missed some stuff.
It clicked. Mormons, wow.
Christians and beer.
They infested my old church.
You didn't know that the Latter-day Saints were Mormons.
I don't know. I guess I didn't care that much.
Yeah, I used to
Mormons.
I used to get into arguments with all these, Pentecostals or Protestants and Catholics and such when they would say that Mormons were not Christian. I said, really?
Mormons.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is not Christian? Really? How do you justify that?
Well, that's one thing that happens in the movie, by the way, My Week in Atheism, which we have a winner for that free DVD coming up in the next segment. I'm going to announce who won that DVD. A segment came up that I believe this part's actually in the film. John and I are at UNT having the debate, and he starts talking about the different religions. And I think someone in the crowd asked the question, "How do you know you have it right and the other thousands of denominations of Christianity are wrong?" He says, "I don't think they're wrong. If they believe in one God, they believe in it." And he tried to slip past it. I said, "Well, hold on. So do you believe Mormons are going to hell?" Well, if they believe in Jesus Christ, hold on. You said one God. We didn't really get down into that deep of an argument, but I did just want to make the point. The Mormons don't believe in one God. They believe in Jesus Christ and Yahweh, or they call him Elohim, and the Holy Spirit as three separate entities, and Elohim and Jesus are in bone and flesh and bone, and they are two separate things on another planet.
Elohim? What?
Elohim.
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 Oh, okay.
Yeah,
there we go.
The plural of deity.
Elohim. I've heard that.
Start calling me Davids from now on. That'll kind of make it make sense. Poor Archuleta. So weird.
You are ruining my life right now.
Orlando Bloom joined the, go ahead and pronounce that, Arn. Sokagaka
douche
School of Buddhism
couldn't see it.
at age 19. It's about studying what's going on in my daily activity and using that as fuel to go and live a bigger life.
You started as surfer, and then you ended up with like some sort of weird British pirate.
Chris Tucker, recognized for his role in Rush Hour. Whatever, that's Smokey. We're going to get you high today. That's Smokey. Smokey's religious. He became a born-again Christian after filming Money Talks in 1997. Dude. 8 years later, Tucker was arrested for speeding on a Sunday in Georgia, allegedly approaching 120 miles per hour. He was in a hurry to get to church. Evidently, he was soon released and apologized, saying he was running late to church.
You thought you were joking.
I thought I was joking.
Yep.
I don't pre-read this stuff.
Yep.
This is broadcasting. Comedian Dave Chappelle, a practicing Muslim, left his highly successful show in 2005 and went on a spiritual retreat in Africa. I don't normally talk about my religion publicly because I don't want people to associate me with my flaws in this beautiful thing, he told Time in 2005. And I believe it's a beautiful religion if you learn it the right way. That's Dave Chappelle to a T. Count on it.
I can't agree.
That's what they say about us.
And I wish I could remember his name. The guy that played Blade. Do you know that?
Nope.
Yeah, you probably haven't seen Blade.
Wait. Denzel Washington?
No.
Wesley Snipes.
Wesley
Snipes. Thank
Same
you.
thing. It's the same guy.
I really liked Wesley
guy.
Snipes. And then I don't know what I think there's another religious thing going on there, but he went on to some weird pilgrimage somewhere in Africa where he like dedicated the rest of his life to this journey or voyage or whatever what it was doing.
I saw an interview with Dave Chappelle, and he really talked about how the fame got to him. How so many people, the critics and the crazy life, and that you're going to do it like this from now on. And he's like, I thought being famous was going to be cool. And he was just like, I just could not deal with it anymore. And he's like, it was so refreshing when he lands in Africa and he goes to like this tribal community and they don't even know who he is. He's like, I love just being a normal guy and being treated with respect. He's like, so it was more of that. But also on the list, Paula Abdul, singer and former American Idol judge, told the Associated Press last year that beyond being Jewish, I've always found myself to be very much in tune with spirituality. Miley Cyrus.
It's a nice picture. It's kind of like a Michael Jackson stripper Santa.
Well, it looks like she's got Michael Jackson's butt.
You see why I do the reading? You see why I do the reading? Miley Cyrus was baptized in a Southern Baptist church and still calls herself a Christian, though she doesn't attend church every Sunday. People are always looking for you to do something that is non-Christian, she told Parade Magazine in 2010. But it's like, dude, Christians don't live in the dark. If I wear something revealing, they go, well, that's not Christian. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to hell because I'm wearing a pair of really short white shorts. Oh, my God.
You are actually,
oh, my God, was not
This is not church.
The quote.
I'm sorry, what?
You are painful when you do that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Erica Christensen, I have no idea who that is, and my give a damn is busted. I don't care. Actor Denzel Washington may be more known for his starring role in films like American Gangster, but he's also a devout Christian. He told GQ magazine in 2012 he reads the Bible every day. Then why aren't you an atheist yet? Must be that same passage over and over.
See, that's another one that's frustrating because I liked him too.
Mm-hmm.
Pop star Katy Perry.
There's a surprise.
Was raised Pentecostal and once recorded on a Christian label.
Make it sound different. The Miley Cyrus. Different girl voice, go.
She's very similar to Miley Cyrus.
I know,
though.
it's a challenge to you for your voice acting skills.
How was she married to that atheist talk show host?
Actually, they're intentionally misquoting her, and that's what I wanted to talk about here. She actually came out publicly and said she wasn't a Christian. She tried to do a gospel album thing. Her dad is a pastor. She tried to please him. Didn't work. She came out with the hit that really made her famous was I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It. She came out and said, I am not a Christian. As a matter of fact, at last week's Grammys, she did a performance that was so what they called occult and satanic. Someone from E! Magazine tweeted, did we just witness the summoning of demons, or did we just witness something? I don't remember exactly how they put it. But one of the Christian performers actually got up and walked out and tweeted about how occult and ridiculous this whole thing was. So she's definitely not a Christian. But they're trying to quote her and say, I laid on my back one night, looked down on my feet, and I prayed to God. I said, God, will you please let me have boobs?
Wait, that's the worst Christian misquote I've ever seen.
Now I want to do it in the voice.
Please do it in the voice.
Now it's justified, right?
Now we see she's completely trolling them, and they think she's serious. So here we go.
Wow.
My impression of Katy Perry trolling GQ magazine. I lay on my back one night and looked down at my feet. I prayed to God. I said, God, will you please let me have boobs so big that I can't see my feet when I'm lying down? God answered my prayers. She told GQ magazine.
They seriously used that as evidence that she's a Christian?
No, she's not British, Trent. I'm just really bad at doing voices on the
British.
spot without practicing.
And all of a sudden, I just imagined Katy Perry jumping out of a TARDIS.
You go Google YouTube Vimeo her performance from the Grammys. Seriously, it is super cool.
Why did they put her next to Shiva in that image?
I don't know. I'm trying to throw it off. Malcolm Gladwell, best-selling journalist, and now no more interest. I'm gone. He's too ugly. After Pope Francis was elected last year, television personality Mario Sexy Face Lopez tweeted, "Big moment for the church and for those of us who call ourselves Catholics. I hope Pope Francis comes with an open heart and an open mind. Hashtag faith. Hashtag dimples. Hashtag gorgeous." Okay, I'm just going to click off of that. What? There we have it.
And we come back to the believer.
I remember the Jonas Brothers, when they first came out with their, first CD, they all publicly put on promise rings to be, celibate until marriage.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and to not drink and all that stuff.
What is a juggalo?
Because they were evangelicals.
Wonder how that worked out. Coming up next, a letter from hell. I'm going to go ahead and warn you now. This is probably going to be one of the more disturbing segments in Dogma Debate history. So if you've had a good day, this is going to piss you off quite a bit.
Hide the kids, Mom and Dad. Spoiler alert.
Look, you don't care if people go to church. It doesn't bother you if they pray on their own time. You're completely fine with attending a ceremony in a place of worship, and you're happy that so many believers donate their time and money to doing good for others. You just want to remind the world that religion doesn't control us. They can have their belief, as long as it stays a belief. It never becomes law. You want to stand up and claim your identity without taking anyone else's. You want to respect all believers, but remind them to keep their God in the church and out of the voting booth. You can do it with two simple words. Be secular. T-shirts and bracelets are now available that simply remind the world to be secular. Just go to besecular.com to get yours. And if you select Dogma Debate Radio as your affiliate group from the site, a portion of the proceeds will help support the show. Do it for the movement. Do it to claim your identity. Do it at besecular.com.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
There is absolutely nothing that Dr. Craig can say against their behavior in moral terms, apart from his own faith-based claim that they're praying to the wrong God. If they had the right God, what they were doing would be good on divine command theory. Now, I'm obviously not saying that Dr. Craig or all religious people are psychopaths and psychotics, but this to me is the true horror of religion. It allows perfectly decent and sane people to believe by the billions what only lunatics could believe on their own. If you wake up tomorrow morning thinking that saying a few Latin words over your pancakes is going to turn them into the body of Elvis Presley, you have lost your mind. But if you think more or less the same thing about a cracker and the body of Jesus, you're just a Catholic.
Hi, this is Nate Phelps, and I am the fourth listener of the Dogma Debate.
Welcome back to Dogma Debate. I got nothing else. I just wanted to say welcome back to Dogma Debate.
Should I say something?
Good night, everybody.
Dramatic pause, I guess.
So we know that a big method that believers use is simply fear. That's it. Just outright fear. Mm-hmm. The facts don't matter. And I think that's the point. I think when you get to that level, like I was talking about seeing a documentary where a man was locked in prison for 20 years for a crime he didn't commit. And they kept proving over and over in different aspects that his DNA wasn't at the scene, that this didn't happen. It was just simply by eyewitness identification. They kept proving that he was innocent. And finally, one of the supporters of him said, when emotions run that strong, facts don't matter. And that's one of the most disappointing things about becoming an adult, is that you realize sometimes facts just don't matter. And it's so depressing and it's so disappointing. And unfortunately, that's what this letter from hell really depends upon. The more facts you have to argue the case, they grow and say things like this, sending a letter from hell. And just so you know, I'm not going to read this to you. We have audio. This is a YouTube video that is circulating and has been for a while, all the way back to 2008. Yeah, it says
for the comment,
thriller video, but the message is an awakening to the
message-ish.
The message-ish, an awakening to the sleepy heads of the church. ...
Oh,
just ... Only 2 dots.
Oh, excuse me.
So anyway, the point here, as Rachel tries to derail the show...
Thanks, Rachel.
Is that...
I thought it was a good start.
They're trying, they're intentionally trying...
Can I have a trophy?
...to heighten the emotional fear and put the blame on the Christian who's not out there evangelizing. If you're not out there proselytizing, the burning, screaming souls in hell are your fault. So you better get out there. And it even specifically starts saying that little girl playing in the street, which I envision as my daughter. You better go tell her. You better go convert her to Christianity. So now they're telling other Christians to go prey on our children, to brainwash them, or else you're going to be at fault.
The blood is on your hands.
For these burning souls. Absolutely. I'm just going to go ahead and...
You should tell her to get out of the street, too. Just saying.
Yeah. Somebody go get her.
What if? What if you had a friend who died without knowing Jesus as their personal savior?
Congratulations.
What if he or she went to hell? What if one day you received a letter in the mail from beyond? A letter from hell. A letter from your friend in the flames of eternal torment. The following is a dramatic presentation. It was written by a fictitious high school student named Josh to a friend named Zach. Although Zach had every opportunity to tell Josh about Jesus, he didn't. They were best friends. They played soccer together, they went to classes together, they partied together, they shared their lives with each other. But there was one thing Zach held back from Josh: his personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
First of all, if this message is so important, why is the music so damn loud? I mean, the music is way too loud. You need some production advice, buddy. It's just too much. Sorry.
The rest of the story is simple and sad. A few too many beers, a tragic drive home, a crash, a death, a funeral, a letter. Here is that letter in its entirety.
This will piss you off.
I'm already clenching my teeth.
Enjoy.
A letter from hell.
Dear Zach, I died today. It's a lot different than I expected. You see, I always thought dying would bring me into a world that's foggy and hazy. But this place is crystal clear. It's even more real than my life on Earth. I can think. I can talk. I can even feel. Right after the wreck, I could feel my spirit leaving my body. It was the weirdest thing, Zach. I thought I heard you screaming out to me, man. I must have been just imagining things. At first, I was just standing in line, getting registered, I guess. They asked me for my name and began to look in this thing they called the Book of Life. I guess they couldn't find it, though, because this huge angel standing next to me grabbed me by the arm and started dragging me away. I was terrified. I had no idea what was going on. I asked the angel where he was taking me, but he didn't answer. So I asked him again. Finally, he told me that only those whose names were written in the Book of Life could enter into heaven. And the rest would be condemned to hell forever. Man, I was scared.
But he let me write this letter.
Yeah.
Before I went.
How did this letter get out? I mean,
they have incredibly affordable stamps in hell.
Yeah, neither hell nor Cerebus nor darkened night will stay these couriers from their appointed rounds.
That's right.
Interesting. Inflation is lower.
when your postman's late.
Oh.
And
we've had by hell.
Yeah, we've had a few people go postal that end up there. So.
The angel threw me into some kind of holding cell where I've been sitting and thinking for a long, long time. Do you want to know what I've been thinking about? I've been thinking about you. Zach, you're a Christian. You told me so yourself. I mean, we talked about it 3 different times today. Kelly brought it up, and you laughed it off. Coach Adams brought it up, and you changed the subject. I mean, it came up right before the wreck. Well, the question I can't get out of my mind is this, Zach. Why haven't you ever told me about how to become a Christian? I mean, you say you're my friend, but if you really were, you would have told me about this Jesus and told me how to escape this terrible place that I'm headed for. I can feel my heart pounding in my chest. The angels who have been chosen to cast me into hell are coming down the hallway. I can hear their footsteps. I've heard of this hell, Zach. They call it the lake of fire. I can't stand it, Zach. I'm terrified. No, the angels are at the door. Oh, no. No! They're coming in, and they're pointing at me. They're grabbing me and carrying me out of the room.
Benny, I'm still writing.
bastard!
Exactly. Was going to be my comment. Yet you're still writing. Those are the comments have filled up this video. This is the most ridiculous crap I've ever heard in my life.
And then it says, "Ah."
There's 2 more minutes of this.
Yeah, well, almost kind of.
He wouldn't write "Ah." He'd just say it.
My heart is bursting with fear. They're holding me over the flames. I'm damned forever. This is it.
My paper is burning. My pencil's on fire. Damn it! You were right. I should have brought a flame retardant pen. I totally should have listened to you.
That's infuriating.
Fire! Pain! Hell! Why is that? Why didn't you ever tell me about Jesus? Signed. Your friend, Josh.
Your friend, Josh.
P.S.
Welcome.
Wish you were here. Wish you were here. Wish you were here. Wish you were here.
So the kid's already heard about hell. He already knew about it.
Rachel is like visibly uncomfortable.
I'm really uncomfortable right now.
Why? You know it's all crap. Tell me what makes you...
They made it like a thriller movie. Like someone is seriously in pain, suffering, and they're guilting me for this person being in this suffering situation. I know it's fake and I know it's dumb, but I'm sure Christians are sitting there. You know, the ones that
if you believe it.
Yeah, that makes me uncomfortable.
Terrifying.
Then it would obviously make someone who truly believes that they need to go save people or their blood is on their that person's hands. That's upsetting.
Just the very idea. I mean, I'm being completely serious. When I was a little child, they told me, if you don't believe this, then you're going to be tortured forever. That doesn't make any sense. What being that really exists, that pretends to love anybody for any reason at all, would damn somebody for what they believe?
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with what kind of a person you are in life. It only matters how gullible you are. Do you believe this ridiculous poppycock? Let me help everybody out here. I want to bring attention to something. You done with this bit right here?
Not completely.
Not completely. Okay, I'll let you finish with it, and then I'm going to.
All right. So he finishes the video. There's a few seconds of just black space, and then he finishes it with a poem called "Don't Bother Me," which then entices the believer to continue to proselytize. Again with the music. I mean, really? Sorry, if you've got to put that much theatrics into this,
yeah, exactly.
It's obvious that you're only appealing to emotion. Logic doesn't matter. Facts don't matter. Science doesn't matter.
Yeah,
just be so terrified that you tell other people about our superstition.
There's a show about the science of the different sounds, of spooky sounds and the eerie sounds, and then they'll have a person walking down the street and they'll have do-do-do-do-do, you're not scared, right? And then they'll change the music to like high-pitch off tones, and immediately the scene changes to, ooh, it's ominous, someone's going to jump out and kill this person immediately just by the tone of the music.
Speaking of that, I've heard, and maybe this is something you can do a science segment on, that the reason high-pitched noises kind of make us cringe, or like fingernails on a chalkboard, has something to do with the high-pitched screams chimpanzees let out to know that there's danger.
Yep.
They scream out, and then all the chimpanzees like climb up into a tree or get to a safe place. The pitch, if you look at the pitch that's made when you scrape your fingernails on a chalkboard, it's very similar to the tones hit by the chimpanzees whenever there's a tiger in the jungle.
Yeah, a lot of primates do that. They have it almost matches frequencies across the board of these high pitched screams of danger, of something wrong.
So
we react to it.
So get out on YouTube and look up the shower scene from
Psycho.
From Psycho, and then right at that moment, just close your eyes and imagine a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a call out of danger, and it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable to expect something wrong to happen because you're being alerted.
Or God pre-programmed us to know that
That's the part of the God lobe, right?
He did that whenever he was making clothing lice sit there in the Garden of Eden, waiting for clothes to be invented.
Right.
It's in the Bible.
Well, yeah, they were
Otherwise,
probably
it would
eating.
have had to have evolved.
Right. It's in.
They probably ate lemons like the dinosaurs, right?
It's in Parasitic Insects, chapter 3, I think.
Oh.
Check it out. It's in the Bible somewhere.
Don't bother me. Don't bother me with souls to save. I have my own agenda. There's school to do, sports to play, important stuff to attend to.
Okay, stop right there. What he's actually, if you have school, is he literally saying to put proselytizing before school and sports?
Yes.
Yeah, and your life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoying.
You're pretending in this imaginary world and reinforcing their belief in the imaginary world matters more than the real world.
Yeah, it's not just believe this. It's throw away your life. Don't trust your own judgment. Don't trust your own science. Don't trust what we know to be true. Don't be productive in life. Don't do your schoolwork. Go preach to these people.
Yeah, it's like Jesus said.
How is that considered a positive message?
Well, it's just like Jesus said. He who gives up his life for me will have this eternal life that you don't ever actually get to experience.
You got to save Josh from that cell where the
And
angels drag him in.
Yeah, what kind of jerk angels would do that?
Where does it say that? Does it say that you're going to sit in a holding cell after you die until the angels drag you?
Actually, all of that is made up. The Bible really doesn't go into...
No, it doesn't even talk about hell specifically.
You know what? Actually, the best thing that I've been able to find about the Bible for all of us that don't believe, really, we just die. That's it. We die the ultimate death just like we're supposed to. That's it. There is no hell. We just die.
Sounds terrible.
I love Satan, totally.
Oh, really?
I do.
Subconscious Rachel. You know, and does anybody ever talk to these preachers and all these apologists about this whole concept of who is in charge of hell? Because if Satan is bad, isn't he kind of the police or the executioner for God?
Yeah,
and so like he's punishing you, or you're on fire in his domain, but wouldn't that mean he's really doing God's work?
Yeah, well, somebody's got to be running hell, and obviously whoever that is doing God's work. But depending on the theology, depending on the type of Christian or the type of believer that you're talking to, I mean, the Jews will have Satan in a different place than the Christians will. The Christians will say that Satan walks the earth, right? And then maybe in Jewish religion, you've got, Satan running hell.
I don't think there is. I don't think there is a
well, see,
Jewish...
the concept of Satan was originally Semitic. I mean, it was based on... The original one was Ereshkigal, from, Semitic polytheism. And then you have this incorporated with Hades, with, a lot of the Bible turns out to be Greek. And the Greek pantheon had a lot of influence on early Christianity, as we can tell by the Nag Hammadi library, which is Egyptian, but incorporates Greek polytheism.
Oh, wait, I have to get back to not bothering me.
Don't bother me with my friend at work. He's got his own religion. I don't have time to change his mind. He'll make his own decision.
So don't even let your coworkers make their own decision. No.
Don't bother me with that little girl, the girl playing in the street. She's much too young to understand that the Savior she can meet. Don't bother me with the sounds I hear, the sounds of people shrieking, although I wonder who they are. Who are these victims screaming?
If you're hearing victims screaming, call the police.
Yeah, or go to a mental hospital because you might be hearing things.
Sometimes Thorazine can cure God.
Don't bother me with who they are. I really don't want the blame. Because it's my friend at work and that little girl who from hell scream out my name. But don't bother me.
It's my coworker and his little girl.
No, you weren't paying attention. You were looking at your phone and you missed the last 19 seconds of the video.
No, I didn't.
Shut up!
You shut up. I'm very disappointed.
Right.
It's completely absurd. I mean, it's just disgusting. Aaron, go ahead before we get into this science quiz.
Okay, I posted something on my Facebook this evening about a news story that I got that I thought was particularly disturbing, where a woman was talking about how her children are being possessed by hundreds of demons, and it caused one of her children. I don't remember what all the children were supposed to have done, but one of them was made able to walk backward. An infant was able to walk backward on the ceiling. And this is how she's convinced that it's hundreds of demons. Now, the disturbing part about this
hand
for me...
hand him a duster.
Okay.
We got stuff up there we can't reach. Sorry, Art. Sorry.
The part that gets me is that the police officer investigating the crime believes that it's true. And this is the part that's really disturbing to me. It's times like this where you have to slap somebody in the face with a bit of reality. There are no demons.
Slap my grandma.
They just don't exist. They're not real. There's not devils possessing your children. If you believe there are devils possessing your children, then people, rational, responsible people, should possess your children, and someone else should possess you until you feel better.
You know, there was a recent news story, and again, I don't mean to do this, but it happened to be in Texas, where, and I found this on a national news level, where a family had their kids taken for brainwashing them. They weren't necessarily following any sort of state curriculum in their homeschool. They weren't necessarily, they weren't taking the state tests like they were supposed to. They were just nonstop Christian. Police noticed it. They did an investigation. They asked CPS to do an investigation, and ultimately the kids were taken and then later returned for like 2 months later. But now they have to, like, the mother has to do a psychological evaluation. The kids are forced to go to public school until they get all their certifications that they need to get. And it's just, and again, Texas is very lenient on what's required at homeschool. But I was shocked to see that they were like, these kids are being brainwashed. They're not being taught correctly. They're way behind. They're not meeting the state standards. And they took their kids because of, quote, brainwashing.
But they're not meeting Texas state standards.
Well,
that gets to be impressive because, as you said,
impressive.
You know, you think that people in the international community are wondering why are they talking about Texas again. But look why we are as polarized as we are. People understand the things that go on in Texas that I talk about, and they talk about, you know, Texas must be surreal. Texas is some weird, you know, third world country that we live in. And when they looked at, like, you know, the footage I got of the people giving testimony for the science standards before the Board of Education, all of these young Earth creationist types giving all their pseudoscience crap. And you have people in rational countries that are wondering, what's wrong with us? Why are people in this state this bad? And, you know, we're not even that bad. At least we can master technology. When Alabama can figure out how to master technology, their crazy will way overpower ours.
There's a guy who does exorcisms now over video chat.
I saw that.
Oh, does that work? But I thought you had to throw water.
Well, he thrusts his crucifix toward his screen. I have some audio of it. I didn't plan on sharing it with you. Do you guys want to hear it?
I want to hear this, yes.
Just never underestimate the power of pretend.
This was not even planned. I was about to get out of this segment. Maybe we should save it. Maybe I should do it next week.
What time is it?
Maybe we should do it. It's already 8:20. We've already been at this almost 2.5 hours.
Well, the science segment isn't it's only like 10 questions. So you judge. We could do it next week, too.
Every time I'm listening to the radio and I hear the host deciding what to do, I'm always like, please, right this second, I want to hear this craziness.
And you're going to tell him to wait next week for the thing you've got baited, Beth. Cliffhanger. Give it to us. Come on.
No, I'm going to make him wait. I'm kidding. I'll play it now. Let me load it up. It's really quite disturbing. I mean, it's this is actually the full CNN story on it, I believe, so full credit goes to them. I was going to break this up and take some samples and then talk about exorcism, but since you brought up the demon possession...
yeah, and somebody's going to be...
I'm going to play it.
Somebody listening to this is going to say that they have evidence, they have something that they believe in about demonic possession. They have something that if I just knew what they knew, right, then I wouldn't be saying these things because I would know that there are demons. And, you know, my cousin, you know, he done got possessed. Yeah, go, bring it. If there's anything I don't know about demonic possession you want to show me, bring it. Because I bet whatever we can test is going to show that, hey, I can verify that the things I say really are true, and everything you're telling me is going to be completely empty. Can't verify anything. It's all going to fall into... Never mind.
No. It's all going to fall into what?
It's either going to fall into the categories of not evidently true or evidently not true. You're not going to be able to give me anything you can show is really real.
you're really missing out on this audio if you have to see the video for it to really help because of the faces this guy makes. The guy that's possessed, he gets his eyes like really close to his webcam when he's like, "You will never take me," and he makes these silly voices like he's the demon. It's really incredible. Just listen to this. I hope it translates well. This was not a segment planned, but let's give it a shot.
Bob Larson is an evangelical Christian, a reverend, a man of God. He is also...
Say I go. No, don't say I stay. I go.
An exorcist.
Die! Say we the people of God agree. We the people of God agree.
So what's funny is he does these in person. He does these in person too, and he's literally holding the mic to himself, and then he gives the demon a command, and then he puts the microphone up to the guy's mouth like that demon would need the guy's mouth to speak. I mean, it's so silly that you're actually supposed to be talking about this demonic sort of character or entity, but it can't communicate unless... I don't know. This is just so stupid. I'm going to just play it.
This young man, Esau, is possessed with a demon. Another exorcism. Larson says Noella is also possessed by the devil. And he says her demons change her voice.
Go now. Go where? Go now.
He sounds like Batman.
Go now. Nobody's gonna kill me out of this home.
It's Batman. She's possessed by Batman.
Rachel, if you and I ever go to an exorcism, what will they do with us laughing in the background like that?
Oh, man. Batman's a scary guy.
But the practice
It's hissing.
is prevalent among many religions, including Bob Larson's evangelical Christianity.
In simple terms, an exorcism is the process of expelling an evil spirit from an individual who has become somehow invaded or demonized or possessed by that being and sending it back to hell and freeing the person.
And now, in this day and age, exorcisms are done over Skype.
I'm going to reach out, cross the miles, and anoint you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Now, he is literally doing this, the hand motions, in front of his laptop screen. And he's got a giant crucifix. This thing's like 12 inches long. And he shakes it at the screen. I mean, this is about to get beyond ridiculous.
Says this man, David, from Norway, is possessed by 4 demons.
Oh, and it just so happens the demon that speaks has a Norwegian accent.
Interesting.
And the guy happens to be from Norway.
Norse, it must be a troll.
Watch.
Bob Larson is sarcastic and mocking.
Are you Bob the Builder? I guess it's Bob the Builder.
You have mocked the servant of God. You will be struck with judgment for mocking the servant of God.
Another demon, says Larson, is named Leviathan. Who is
Same guy, different demon. Leviathan. What a cool demon name, right?
That is a cool name.
It's a cool name for a crocodile. That's what the Leviathan was.
Just a crocodile?
Just a crocodile.
No science yet, guys. No science yet.
You down, 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 down.
He's
Get funky. Bump it.
who is dangerous and mean.
Dangerous and mean.
What are they normally, pleasant?
No, play that again. I love the way he's dangerous and mean.
He's
hurt my feelings.
He's giving the this one demon is quite disrespectful. He's giving the names of the demons and their different personalities.
I'm really sorry.
Leviathan, who is dangerous and mean.
Out of the way, Leviathan.
Take you down, 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 down.
You're not taking me anywhere. You're the one who's going down.
I want to hear that again, but I want it followed by drums.
Dogs will eat your flesh.
I call the hounds of hell to come now.
Trent said it's like Trent said it's like a wrestling promo.
Sounds like a confused pastor.
I will take you down, brother. You will go down.
Down. Bum, bum, bum.
To eat your flesh.
To many, these exchanges could be seen as dramatic performances or conversations better suited between a psychiatrist and patient.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Either way, it's hard not to be disturbed while watching.
Say
What?
we break the curse. Say it, Leviathan.
We will make the curse 10 times worse.
Judgment strikes you. Judgment strikes you.
Judgment. Force choke. Sorry.
It took over an hour, but the exorcist said he was successfully able to rid David of his demons.
All except one.
Bye-bye.
Well, hold on. Yeah, now he's talking to him normally. Okay, bye-bye, guys.
Yeah. All except one demon.
That demon known as Emily.
Why do they all have to have demonic voices?
Yeah.
Why do they have to have voices that man's vocal cords could easily do?
Are all demons
Why
males?
can't one just be an opera singer that can break glass when she hits a certain note?
They're all males. With
We
a lot of
asked if we could have a few
testosterone.
words with him. Do you think you'll be able to get rid
So now the guy from CNN is talking to the man who's possessed.
of believe are inside your body?
I'm not sure if more are left, but time will show. And if there are, we will pluck them one by one.
With all due respect, some of what we just watched seemed like a very disturbing nightclub act. What's your
It's not a
response?
disturbing nightclub act. It's not a good nightclub
It
act.
isn't. It's real. There would be no need to theatrically stage this for any reason. Why would anybody do that? I have no idea.
Money.
No reason except thousands of dollars and have CNN in my house.
Notoriety.
More
fame.
church members. There's no reason.
Influence.
Bob Larson says he has done more than 20,000 exorcisms, and he's certain there will never be any shortage of the devil's demons.
Strike him again in judgment.
Gary Tuchman, CNN, Scottsdale, Arizona.
As long as the money's there, you're going to have plenty of demons.
That's true. That really happened. People. Coming up next, we're going to have the science segment, and I'm going to announce that winner for that free DVD of My Week in Atheism, which is premiering February 15th.
Why can't we have a demon that talks with Daffy Duck's voice? No, Donald Duck's voice. That's really hard to do.
I can't remember
Seriously?
what Daffy Duck sounds
No,
like.
not Daffy. Daffy's too normal. Do Donald. She's a Disney Exercise that.
I went to college! Damn it, I went to college! And this is my job.
Thank you, Smalley, for the visual.
Yes.
News for the Fourth Listener, brought to you by Dogma Debate. This week's edition is Politics and Religion from the Bubble. Fox News may be the dominant cable news channel by far. Its executives may be the subject of intense scrutiny, whose every move is watched carefully and who inspire massive biographies. Its on-air talent may dominate headlines for days on end merely by discussing fictional characters like Santa Claus or Moses or a rational Republican. But some political analysts are positing the theory that Fox News is in terminal decline. Ostensibly, Fox News has been defeated on the political battlefield because of the 2012 presidential election, and may be defeated in the media battlefield as well for one major reason. A rapidly aging, overwhelmingly white, politically cocooned audience, the bubble, and its old white audience are dying off. Add to that the internet and podcasts like Dogma Debate are becoming outlets for news, and you have the demise of Fox News and other things that old white conservatives deem important, things like Jesus and adult diapers.
You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
Thomas Perkins, the venture capitalist who compared the progressive war on the 1% to Nazi anti-Semitism over the weekend, said he regrets using the word Kristallnacht in reference to the Occupy movement during an appearance on Bloomberg TV this last Monday.
It was a terrible word to have chosen.
Perkins said although the word was a bad choice, nevertheless he stands by the message that the rich are just like the rest of us. And while Perkins did express concern for those Americans less fortunate than himself, in fact, he said he has relatives that are living in trailer park. The Richard Mille watch he was wearing during the Bloomberg interview retails for $330,000. Hell of a trailer park. In the religious bubble this week, former American Family Association talk show host Buster Wilson implied on Twitter that the massive Target Superstore data breach was divine punishment for an ad made by one of its competitors. The unseemly commercial Wilson seems to be referencing is Kmart's Joe Boxer ad, which upset the AFA so much that its 1 Million Moms affiliate organized a campaign against it. I'm not exactly sure why Wilson thinks God would punish millions of Target customers over a Kmart ad, but such rants are what we've come to expect from yet another resident of the bubble. Finally, in other delusional Christian news this week, Family Research Council head Tony Perkins, while chatting with Oklahoma pastor Paul Blair of Reclaiming America for Christ about a federal judge's decision to strike down Oklahoma's ban on same-sex marriage, claimed that the gay rights movement is a satanic endeavor to destroy America and introduce communism. He also said that the movement to stop marriage equality is no different from the fights against slavery in Nazi Germany. He said, and I quote, "It's time for us to stand with men like Charles Finney in opposition to slavery and with Dietrich Bonhoeffer in opposition to totalitarian government in Germany. We're facing much the same thing."
Are you stupid or something?
Stupid is, stupid does, sir.
It's not 420, and these people actually said these things. This has been News for the Fourth Listener, brought to you by Dogma Debate. Compass120.com has apparel for the freethinker. That's men's, women's, and children's freethinker apparel with a special collection just for Dogma Debate Fourth listeners. Stop by Compass120.com, that's COMPASS120.com, and check out the wonderful designs that you'll want to wear to your next secular meetup, convention, or just around town to let everyone know that you're willing to be counted as a freethinker. Compass120.com has the Christopher Hitchens profile shirt with the famous quote, "That which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence." The Dogma Debate collection includes the Dogma Debate t-shirt with the I Am Fourth hashtag on the back for men and women, everyone's favorite Jerry DeWitt's profile and his quote on atheism, skepticism, agnosticism, and humanism, and Keith Lowell Jensen's "Thank a Union Member, It's Friday." If you're a free thinker and you want to show your colors, go to Compass120.com, use the code Dogma Debate for a 10% discount, and show the world not just what you think, but that you think. Compass120.com.
So what do atheists want? What do atheists want from Christians in this country? Well, I'll tell you a few things that I would like. First of all, I'd like you to believe whatever you want, but I'd like you to be skeptical in your beliefs, because your beliefs are your own business, but people will try to use your beliefs to control you. Charlatans and others know that you are more likely to do what they want you to do if they tell you God, Jesus, or the Bible tells you you should do it. When you hear those words, beware. Someone is trying to control you.
I'm Todd Stiefel, and I'm the fourth listener of Dogma Debate.
Today's after show, for those fourth listener members of any category at login.dogmadebate.com, the after show, and we go off the air and we continue to record for a few minutes. Usually we have our show meetings or notes, things that we need to talk about. Sometimes we have specific things we're talking about. Today what we're going to talk about, just to let you know, if you want to get involved with that conversation on the membership side. And when I say that, I mean I'm going to be looking for feedback from the members. And you're only going to be able to hear it if you're on that login.dogmadebate.com site for today's after show. But what we're going to be talking about is we actually have an opportunity to be on an AM radio station in Dallas. But we've got a few hurdles and a couple of things to address. And this thing is beyond me just making decisions and trying to do things on my own to figure it all out. So this is now a run-by-committee type thing. And so Arn and Rachel and I are going to stay after the show. We're going to record the conversation. We're going to talk about our ideas. And I want to get David Viviano's feedback. I want to get Trent's feedback if he's going to stick around with us. And if you are a fourth listener member, you're registered, listen to that after show, see what you think about it, and send me kind of a brief idea on what you think or how we should move forward. Because we've got a couple of great ideas. I mean, we could actually be on the air every Sunday afternoon. Dogma Debate could be a live AM Dallas radio talk show. But we've got a couple of things to make happen first.
Something to listen to on the way to church.
I'm really more than anything looking forward to representing non-belief in a non-threatening, non-aggressive manner while having fun, putting a human side to it, and taking calls from Christians. I think that would be phenomenal.
That would be pretty interesting, a new addition to the show.
Well, what we would do more than... look, we got to talk about it after the show. We don't have time. We don't have time. I do want to let you know, I'm so excited about this movie premiere. February 15th in Sacramento, California. The movie is My Week in Atheism. And our winner for the first ever free DVD coming out of that premiere of My Week in Atheism. Remember last week we did the contest where you had to go like Dogma Debate, like My Week in Atheism, and share the photo to get the free DVD. Well, we have a winner. It's Matt Kenyon from Madison, Wisconsin. You are getting a free DVD of My Week in Atheism. So send us an email, Matt, or contact David Viviano on Facebook, and we will get your address and get everything shipped out to you as soon as it releases. It cannot release before the premiere on the 15th, but you are going to be the one that gets the first free DVD. Everyone else, we didn't have anyone from the area in the Sacramento area actually participate in the contest. We want to give away 2 free tickets. So what I'm going to say, and this is just a test for those people that are available right this second that want those tickets, the first person that emails me, david@dogmadebate.com, here's the big trick. Here's what you have to do. You have to just type in there, I want free tickets to the Sacramento premiere. If you're going to be in the Sacramento area, if you live in the Sacramento area, that weekend of February 15th, and you can be there at 7:30 that night, I will give you free tickets. All you have to do is be the first person to email, david@dogmadebate.com. Now we wait. The rest of the segment, that's what we're going to do. We're going to sit here.
Now, can we talk about something?
No, just wait. Just stare at the email. I'm just kidding. Of course, we're not going to wait.
Can we talk about what's happening during the show?
Yeah, so while I'm gone, you mean?
Yes, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that.
Are we going to implode?
So what that means is I'm actually going to be gone in Sacramento that entire week, and we're going to have another David Smalley-less Dogma Debate. So for those of you that love Dogma Debate, you're just not too keen on the David Smalley guy, February 12th is going to be your day, because that's going to be Aaron and Rachel, hopefully the Viv, which is what I just came up with to call David Viviano, the Viv. Gamma Atheist is going to be here, and Trent. And I want all of you guys to be talking and having fun. So just don't get us in trouble. No one gets arrested, and don't get me sued. And I'll go ahead and tell you now, the views expressed on Dogma Debate as of February 12th, 2014 do not necessarily reflect those of David Smalley or Dogma Debate LLC.
It's not 100% science. We'll at least have 2 segments for science.
Yeah, that's
at
cool.
least.
That's cool. Have 2 science segments. Mix it up. You guys have fun.
Throw some nonsense in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to have nonsense if it's going to be Dogma Debate.
Yeah, I'll break the show a couple times.
Break the show. Mm-hmm. We have to do a refresher on how to use this equipment.
Let's do a refresher.
I mean, seriously.
I'll still break it, but refresher, please. A couple of them.
We will. So anyway, seriously, the first person that emails david@dogmadebate.com, all I got to do is ask for the tickets. Shoot me an email if you're going to be in the Sacramento area. I will give you 2 free tickets. But those are the only 2 tickets we are giving away. Other than that, you can go pre-order your tickets and save a ton of money. If you're going to go there anyway, $15 at the door, $9 a ticket online. myweekinatheism.com. He's got a promo, the video up, the preview is up. Go check it out. Go buy the tickets. Reserve your spot. Tickets are selling fast. So go get your tickets. myweekinatheism.com. Or just email me right now, and I'll give you 2 free tickets. Okay.
You ready? Is it time? You gotta bring this quiz up. Where is it?
So, I had the opportunity. I want you people to know. I had the opportunity to see this quiz about, how long ago?
I don't know, 20 minutes ago.
About 20 minutes ago. I opened it up. I saw the title of it. I see the first 2 questions. I have not finished reading them.
There was a
minimized
moment
them.
of shock.
I minimized them immediately, and I said, I don't want to cheat on this.
Uh-oh.
I want this to be a genuine response to this. To this, so I didn't even scroll down. I didn't look at it any further, and I didn't look up the answers. So that is a preface to my stupidity. Anything that I say that is, I should just do it and stop stalling.
Now, should we do it like we did last time for the religion quiz, where you answer first, and if you get it wrong, I tell you what the answer is, or because I haven't Googled the answer. I don't need to Google the answers.
Oh,
just saying. I might know them.
Wow.
Should I tell you, or I'll just let you go through them, and then I'll tell you which ones you get wrong.
No, you could tell me as I get it wrong.
As you get it wrong? Okay.
God, I am, it is not, putting myself.
You can do this.
Putting myself on the spot like this.
You can do this.
So,
you can at least get 50%. It's 10 questions.
How many questions?
10 questions with 1 bonus.
10 questions and a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you said something about 25 questions or something.
No, I never said to do 25.
Okay, good. 10 questions.
We can give you another quiz.
No.
Are you complaining?
No.
I can make up another 10 questions after this if you want.
I just read the second question and I don't like it.
The second one's
who came
kinda
up
tough.
with this? Andrew?
Andrew, yes.
He's your research assistant guy.
Yes, he is.
Is he the one that also emailed us that video?
Yes, he is.
Letter from hell?
Yes. Are you okay?
Yeah, okay, let's start. Number 1. Which of the following is not an aspect of the theory of evolution?
Let me read the questions, because she's going to judge.
You know what? I
You're
almost said that. I almost said that. You go ahead. You're right. You're right. Go ahead.
I don't have anything else to do in this if she's going to be the teacher and you're going to be the pupil. I mean, I'm just
okay. You're right.
Okay.
You can read the question, Art.
Which of the following is not an aspect of the theory of evolution?
Ooh, he sounds very game showy.
Not.
A, the variation of allele frequencies in populations over time.
I wouldn't know how to pronounce that.
B, how the first life forms came to be, whether on Earth or elsewhere. C, the mechanisms by which populations incur morphological changes over time. Or D, the emergence of modern humans from ape-like ancestors.
Is it bad that I almost fell asleep during the question?
I've been told my voice can do that.
And you can have a lifeline if you want a clue.
Okay, no.
I'll call a friend.
If you need a translation.
No, the answer to this one is B, how the first life forms came to be, because evolution doesn't deal with how life originated. It has to do with how life evolved. Well, that's one.
You are currently at a 10%.
Number 2.
Which of the following is not an example of a mechanism or result of evolution? Please explain. A, genetic drift. B, natural selection. C, speciation. D, Lamarckian inheritance. Or E, transitional species.
I have no idea what Lamarckian inheritance means. Not an example of a mechanism or result of evolution. Okay, well, natural selection obviously is a mechanism. Speciation obviously is. Genetic drift. Lamarckian inheritance. Transitional species is as well, I think. It's between genetic drift and Lamarckian inheritance, just because I don't know what either one of those terms mean. A Andrew, you're fired.
I can explain what Lamarckian inheritance is if you'd like.
Please explain that.
Lamarckian inheritance was a very considered primitive idea of how things are inherited. So the Lamarckian inheritance is things that you acquire during your lifetime can be passed on to your offspring. You work out really hard, then your child will be born.
Oh, okay, then that's
really
it. That's the answer. It's D. It's Lamarckian inheritance. That's ridiculous.
Correct. You cannot inherit the muscular form or the diet of your parents.
The example given.
Does that count? Do I get that?
No.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah, you should get that.
The example given by Lamarck was giraffes, starting with an okapi stretching its neck to reach higher leaves, and that by doing this all over its life, then its young would somehow inherit the. And one of the tests that they did to disprove Lamarckian inheritance was, and this is, I know, terribly cruel, but it's something science does in order to disprove theories, right? They started chopping tails off of mice generation after generation after generation. And, after a couple hundred generations, the mice are still born with tails.
Yep. It did not inherit the taillessness of the parents.
Oh, okay. It's if they slowly just stop using it over time, it kind of goes away.
You have to have a genetic change in the gametes.
It can go away.
Okay.
Doesn't necessarily have to.
But it can't happen in adult life.
Number 3.
Please explain why the following argument posed by a creationist is not applicable to the theory of evolution.
What possible purpose would an iron have for evolving the ability to attract other iron? It doesn't even reproduce. Therefore, natural selection must be false.
Andrew did tell me this is a real argument proposed by a real creationist. Why is that wrong?
Because it was posed by a creationist.
We know it's wrong.
Best answer yet. That was awesome. What possible purpose would iron have for evolving the ability to attract other iron? I have no idea what I would say to that. I didn't even know iron did that.
So you don't know the answer? You don't think?
No clue. That question kind of pisses me off, and I want to punch the screen and leave the studio.
I
don't even understand it.
The reason is because iron is not an organism. It does not pass on genetic information. So iron did not evolve the ability to attract to other iron. It's not a biological creature, so it is not under the mechanisms of natural selection. So they're using non-living properties to try to disprove a theory that involves living creatures.
Because, non-living properties.
Dude, I'm evolving, bitch.
Okay, whatever. Number 4. That's stupid.
Which of the following species would be considered the most evolved? Please support your answer. A. Homo habilis. B. Homo sapiens sapiens. C. Homo floresiensis. D. Australopithecus afarensis. E. Homo sapiens adultu. Or F. Homo erectus.
And G.
Not applicable.
He's throwing in trick questions trying to get me, isn't he? He's trying to get me. The most evolved. And see, when you put words in there like would be considered, by whom?
And most evolved.
See, I feel like I'm trying to be trapped here.
Then maybe you should go with that feeling.
I feel like I'm trying to be trapped because people want to say that, Homo erectus or Homo sapiens are more evolved than Homo habilis because they were further back in time. But
what does
we're
most
always
evolved?
What does most evolved even mean? We're always evolved. I would answer G on this. Not applicable.
Correct.
Damn you!
It's teaching you those the things that creationists are going to do against you, or what they think. Homo sapiens are the most evolved, so we're the end point of evolution.
Okay,
but it's an incorrect way of thinking of evolution.
So get her a beer.
Okay, so it's not just a trick question. It's because creationists use this crap.
Absolutely.
Phenotypes, which can be found both in the fossil record as well as the modern world, though not necessarily implying that they are both at the same species, are known as what? Please name at least one example.
Something that's found
just shut up.
in the fossil record a long time ago, and that is found today, that almost look exactly the same, not necessarily saying they're the same species.
That's what a phenotype is?
A phenotype is. It doesn't matter. That's a big science word. That's pretty much trying to say that two different organisms that have the same type of form or
yeah, call it a shape.
Yeah, same shape.
I prefer to call it a kind. That's what I learned from Answers in Genesis.
Well, that's later on. There's a question that does talk about that. So something that's found a long time ago and something that's found today that look almost the same. What is that called?
What is a juggalo?
I actually had a blog that talked about this. We talked about it on the show. Something that's alive today.
Oh, hold on. So something that can be found in the fossil record as well as a modern world.
Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's
This is horrible radio.
I don't know if you want me to
well,
tell you.
I feel like, I mean, I understand the
You want a lifeline.
I understand what the basis is of the question. I just feel like I'm more so trying to guess the example you guys are thinking because...
No, you can give any example you want.
Does he need a hint?
I don't know. Does he need a hint?
Like those...
Just say it.
Okay, let me see if I can just read the question again. Phenotypes, and take that to mean a shape, right?
A shape.
Yeah, which can be found both in the fossil record as well as the modern world, meaning that it's living, though not necessarily implying that they are both the same species, are known as what?
Oh, I saw what you did there. Fossil. Living.
Really? Y'all are going to be that way? Come on, man. They're known as living fossils.
Yeah. And what is and what's an example of one?
Aron.
I'm going to hurt you later.
You have a T-shirt that says that. You have a T-shirt that says
Try
you're a
again.
transitional fossil.
What's a real one? Or you can describe it if you don't know the name.
No, I don't know.
Cyphisters.
A coelacanth.
Nope.
The fish that is found during the Devonian that can breathe, has primitive lungs, and the one they found it recently, the African lungfish.
I have no idea what you're talking
Horseshoe
about.
crab.
Horseshoe crabs.
Goldfish vote Republican.
Never heard of the horseshoe crab.
Never heard of a
I talked
horseshoe
about
crab.
it on the show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Any fossil that looks like it's living today, like, I mean, you could even stretch it to
Definitely the
primitive
coelacanth. I remember the
There you
coelacanth,
go.
the giant primitive looking shark thing with its mouth open and right, that thing.
I think that's
That
a
was a bit
placoderm.
vague.
No.
Giant primitive
No,
shark.
I
thing
showed
with its
you
mouth
guys.
open.
I showed you the video of it, and then you named it the coelacanth.
I must have been on drugs.
How often does that happen?
Not too often.
Let's just get this over with. Do number 6.
One of the oldest known creatures in which the feature known as Jaws evolved is, and more than one answer is possible.
Hold on. More than one answer is possible.
I won't count
You've
it
included
wrong.
all of the above, none of the above, and 7 things I can't pronounce.
Okay.
This is dumb.
Well, placoderms, sharks.
I have no idea what a placoderm is. I don't know what a bragomonster is. I don't know what the damn Anomalocaris is.
Anomalocaris.
And now I really don't even give a damn what a
Eurypterids.
Eupteriptid is. I don't care. Jaws was obviously a shark. What the hell? I don't even.
Eurypterids. And
You ripped her rids. I didn't rip her anything.
The answer is a placoderm.
What is a placoderm? Isn't that an elephant?
Arn.
well, more than one
Or is that
answer.
pachyderm?
More than one answer is possible, so we're
Yep.
going to go with placoderms and sharks.
Well, I was half right there.
Anomalocaris.
Don't curse on the show.
Wait,
this
no.
this is dumb.
Apparently.
I don't even know what we're doing.
We're going with Jaws.
No, he says Jaws in there.
That's what he. Well, that's
Well,
what
how do you
answer
get
is.
how do you get
circled.
Jaws from an Anomalocaris?
I have no idea. That's just what my science research circled, but I go with placoderm.
Sharks obviously are very old and
Yes.
also
What we've
have
determined
jaws.
is the guy that wrote this quiz doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Is that what we've just determined?
Yeah, and Eurypterids are scorpions essentially,
Yeah.
and so
What is a
obviously-
placoderm?
Imagine a giant. Well, it doesn't have to be giant. They're bony armored fish with usually no jaws. That's the distinctive feature on most of the small ones. But then you have things like, what is the name? I always forget the name.
No,
The
he's
really,
not drinking tonight, folks.
The really big one. It doesn't have teeth, but it has like a beak, serrated beak that looks
Yeah.
like teeth.
Yeah, they look like teeth at the front of the face,
Yeah,
but
but
they're
it's-
actually like bony plates. That,
Oh, we
that slice.
talked about that thing before.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
All
can't
right.
remember what it's called. I hate it when I draw a blank like that.
It's a Fischisthus bitifus. That's what it was called.
Correct, but that was a placoderm.
Number
Some of the
7, Arn.
earliest Jaws.
I hate this, by the way. Number 7.
I'm having fun.
This sucks. Thought you were reading the
Oh
question.
yeah, sorry. According to prominent... Sorry, the idea of a prominent creationist.
I know that.
According to prominent creationists, or clever con men, or both, Ray Comfort et al., which of the following is a prediction of the theory of evolution? Again, more than one answer is possible. And you have a choice between A, the existence of a first dog that had to wait for a female of the same species to evolve. Wow. B, the existence of hybrids between modern, entirely unrelated species. C, that humans evolved from rocks. D, that the evolution of new species is impossible. E, all of the above. Or F, none of the above.
Here's the scary thing. I've actually heard B, C, and D used. That the existence of hybrids between modern, i.e. the crocoduck. We've heard that one. We've heard that humans came from rocks.
Yes, so recently.
And I've heard that
comes the fact train.
the evolution of new species is impossible.
Yeah,
the sad thing is I've never heard A, but I'm going to include that in the answer because the first dog had to wait for a female of the same species to evolve sounds dumb enough for Ray Comfort to say it, so I'm going to go with all of the above.
Yep.
Ray Comfort's argument there was that the first dog was an amorphous mass of meat that sat around for millions of years and suddenly, for no reason at all, grew head and legs and a tail and all of this. All these features just suddenly appeared. It's sitting there. It's a lump of hamburger that suddenly turns into a dog.
Yep.
And then has to wait for a female to suddenly... Another piece of hamburger sitting around for millions of years.
Now, to be fair, he's not saying that's what happened.
No,
He's
that's
saying,
exactly what he says according to evolution, that's what's happened.
He's trying to make it...
Okay, but let me finish.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is he's not saying that happened. He's saying that's what evolution says happened.
Exactly.
And that's why they do it.
Intentionally misrepresenting.
He's making us look
And
stupid because that is very dumb.
Yeah. And I said that to him when I had a chance to debate with him. I said, that we're talking about population mechanics. That we're talking about populations of pre-existing animals that have these adaptive traits. And so you're talking about a single individual piece of hamburger sitting around for millions of years.
What brand?
Dog burger.
What brand burger? Are we talking like...
Sprinkle Jesus dust on it.
Like 80%?
Hormel, maybe?
Well, it depends, because you get different breeds out of different, types of meat. For example, the wiener dog.
Come on.
All
Number
right.
8.
According to prominent creationists...
Oh, sorry.
No, that's the same.
Yep. According to prominent creationists, or clever con men, or both, Ray Comfort et al., which of the following Linnaean taxonomical levels is synonymous with kind? Domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, suborder, family, genus, species, or none of the above.
A-hole.
I'm going to go with a-hole. So
synonymous with kind.
I definitely remember this. I definitely remember you talking about order in class. I definitely remember you talking about family. They talked a lot about species. I remember you going through these. But this isn't really a science quiz. This is me trying to guess what a jackass would think.
What they do think.
Yeah, this isn't science. This isn't what I know on science. This is how
become a Davidite.
How much
there's
attention.
a reason why you don't immediately understand or know the synonymous word with kind. There's a reason.
Well, there's not one.
Exactly.
Correct.
It's none of the above. But
there
I don't.
is no scientific classification for kind. Kind is not a scientific word.
Now, Ken Ham will tell you that it's generally sometimes, but certainly, almost never always, the family level.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He's not asking scientifically what is that word, and my answer is none.
And ain't nothing you can say with your fancy science books to change it.
He's not asking that. He's asking according to these creationists. What is the answer?
But it's still a science question because you have to understand that these are scientific words.
I don't like the way this is done.
But you knew the answer.
Yeah.
Yep. You've been doing pretty, really good.
Well, yeah.
So, evolution cannot result in an increase in genetic information from generation to generation. True or false? And please explain.
Okay, I don't like the please explain part. No. So, suck it.
No, so suck it.
Evolution cannot result in an increase in genetic information. What does that mean, an increase in genetic information?
I need to fix you.
Think of, a simple life form, algae, that has a certain amount of genetic information. Can evolution...
How are you measuring that information?
Well, yeah, I guess you could take the creationist view and...
Is that bonus question about
Can
Star
I
Trek?
substitute that for bacon?
Is that about Star Trek?
I did see that. I think that is pretty funny. But I mean, I don't see the Star Trek point of it.
Okay.
I know the answer.
Evolution cannot result in an increase in genetic information. So,
Can an increase in genetic information happen?
an increase in genetic information.
Can happen.
I don't understand what that means, an increase in genetic information.
Well, that's the beauty of the question, because they don't have a metric to it. They don't really have a way of identifying. Now, when you have you have two chromosomes fuse into one, and you suddenly have 23 chromosomes instead of 24.
So wouldn't that be a reduction in genetic information?
Creationists would say that would be a reduction in information because you have fewer chromosomes, so that's less information. Ian Juby was very good about it.
Well, it's less chromosomes.
That's
not
a loss of information, a loss, right? That's the way he would say it. But then, of course, that's a problem because that's a loss of genetic information for humans from other apes. So then it's suddenly equal. We just have the same amount of information packed into fewer chromosomes, or we have more information somehow packed into fewer chromosomes. And if you have a subtraction...
I hate this segment.
If you have a subtraction mutation, well, that's a loss of information. But then you say, okay, well, if that is the case, then when you have a duplication mutation, then that would be an increase. No, that doesn't count.
I don't even care anymore. This is so boring to me.
You are so terrible. Why can't you just
This is
suck
so
it up?
damn boring to me. I don't even care. I can't even make my... I don't even understand what it means. More... I'm going to...
Sorry.
What does it even mean? More... an increase in genetic information. I don't understand. I don't even know that. I don't understand the question. An increase.
Okay, well, I wouldn't worry about it too much.
So hold on. So my... Is it false?
Yes.
So it's the same amount of genetic information, but the genetic information can change?
No, well, it actually a kind of a change in information. Anytime information changes would, in one sense, be considered an increase. It would be new information. It is possible to have new information. It is possible for mutations to occur in which we have additional genetic material, which is one way of identifying new genes, new chromosomes, whatever.
So then how do things change?
I have an example for you.
Okay.
We talked about it a while ago, and you actually have a sound clip of me talking about like breaking off a piece of my gene from this and making a new pancreatic enzyme or something. And it's actually whenever your mother creates an egg or your father creates sperm, and you have a piece of a gene or a piece of the chromosome break off and duplicate. So you have two of the same gene saying the same thing, and it gets passed on to me. And eventually, if I keep passing on two copies of the same thing, one of them has to keep functioning or else my pancreas will have an issue because I need a pancreatic enzyme. But I have a second copy that's just sitting there that doesn't have to stay the same. So it keeps mutating, and it becomes a new type of enzyme that now allows me to be see-through. It doesn't matter.
So now she has a
So
new
now
trait.
I have a new gene, and I have an increase in not only genes, but base pairs, and I have a new function. So that is an increase in information.
You see, the ambiguity here is that they don't really have a hard way of identifying what information is or quantifying it. They will easily tell you always that it takes more information to make a bird than a dinosaur, but they can't tell you how much information is in a dinosaur or how much information is in a bird. They don't have a way of measuring it because they know that would hold them accountable, and the last thing the creationist is going to do is be accountable.
Yep. So it is false. Evolution can result in duplicating genes and creating more like a new canvas.
So it's false then. It can't do more.
Evolution cannot result. That's what he's trying to confuse you with words too. So evolution can result.
The way the question is worded is somewhat confusing, but then the question
evolution cannot result, it's false. So
right. So he pulled a double negative on you.
Yep.
I don't like.
He's testing your English skills as well.
Okay.
I don't like Andrew. Number 10.
And I didn't like the way the question was worded either.
Let's get this garbage over with.
And this is the last question, so everybody can heave a sigh of relief. Which of the following are examples of transitional species between non-avian dinosaurs and avian dinosaurs?
Archaeopteryx,
i.e. birds. More than one answer is possible. And of the potential examples of transitional species between non-avian dinosaurs and birds, Archaeopteryx, Ichthyornis, pterosaurs, Allosaurus, and Compsognathus.
Okay, so the itchy thorns sounds like a fish. the pterosis.
Pterosaur. You know what a pterosaur is?
What?
A pterodactyl.
There's a P in front of that word?
Pterosis. Well, if you have pterosis, I know a treatment.
The Alarasis.
This one looks like a Tyrannosaurus. It's a smaller version of a Tyrannosaurus.
The Alarasis does
a T-Rex.
And the cosmopathologist. I don't know what that does.
Compsognathus. Well,
I'm just going to say Archaeopteryx. I'm just going to say that one. Is there another one?
It's that one and Ichthyornis.
Really? I thought ichthy and ICK and
it's
that
actually
whole thing
like
was
a fish bird. That's what they call it because it has teeth.
There's only one incorrect answer in that list.
I was about to say Compsognathus is kind of...
They are all transitional.
Compsognathus is one of the earliest ones.
To take that back, a transitional species, because Ichthyornis is the only one that is an actual... Hey!
Oh.
Hold on.
Other people are learning
Hold on. Ichthyornis, in this list, Ichthyornis is the only one that actually is a bird. Archaeopteryx is not a bird. A lot of people will say that it's just a perching bird, but it's not. Archaeopteryx is a dinosaur, but it is not a proper bird. It's not a complete bird. Ichthyornis is a bird. Pterosaurs are not birds, and they're not dinosaurs either. Allosaurus has a wishbone, just like regular birds, and Compsognathus was also very bird-like in its skeletal structure.
Archaeopteryx didn't fly, right?
No, Archaeopteryx flew crappily, but it flew.
Very crappily.
How do you know? You weren't there. The bonus question, Aaron.
Life on other planets would be expected to be nearly indistinguishable from life on Earth, a la Star Trek. True or false, and why?
I hate this question so much.
See, my answer...
First of all, I have never in my life seen more than 30 seconds of anything Star Trek.
I haven't either.
Secondly, life on other planets would be expected according to who? You could put two...
Just your opinion.
Spacey science physicists in the same room, they would probably disagree on what life on other planets would be. And I would say that if it is life as we know it, then it would probably form nearly in the same way, and I would think that it would probably be indistinguishable.
I vote false.
I would say true.
Let me help you with that. Vulcans, Klingons, and humans, supposedly, according to Star Trek, all emerged on different planets. Yet they're able to interbreed.
Makes no sense.
Oh no, that doesn't make any sense to interbreed. But
right,
but that's not what it says.
Why do they all look human? Why
it would see that they would be nearly indistinguishable.
Right. So you got one pointed ears, one
Should we
furrowed
show up
forehead.
on a different planet and there be tigers or dinosaurs or people? Why should that even happen? I say no, because the animals that we know that have existed and do exist today require that very specific order of events that happen. The extinction of dinosaurs is required for the primates to evolve, and they have to have tall trees to have primates up in trees that eventually became bipedal. I don't think they would look anything like us.
To begin with, we wouldn't have animals per se.
They probably wouldn't have mammals.
Right, we certainly wouldn't have mammals, because mammals have all these other criteria that you would have to meet.
Yeah. Exactly, so no. Most likely not. It'd be very confusing if we saw people on another planet.
The life forms at every level would be dramatically different than anything we experience right now. If you go to any climate on land and examine the life forms there,
that sounds to me like faith.
And then compare that to any life form you can find in the sea, how different are they?
So you got some faith in that, do you? You're claiming to know this, that it would be completely distinguishable, yet you have no evidence to support that.
I am not drunk, Rachel. I am not going through this.
Excuse me? Well, you did pretty well, even though you were angry the whole entire time.
It was dumb. It was more like...
It really wasn't. It was actually a good science quiz.
It was more like, guess what idiots think, and can you pronounce these...
There's a reason
why. I grant
why.
you that. I
think he was more focused on that and impressing you with the fact that he can spell these stupid fossil names.
I don't think so. I think it's...
I want a real science quiz, Andrew.
It had a good mix of things that prep you for what people that don't understand science usually do say, because it's what these people say.
That would be a good quiz.
That's exactly what that was. No, those are real answers from real creationists.
I think it was total fail.
And you have to know your science, too. So, Andrew, you apparently failed, succeeded, and half failed.
Yeah, but when you do a quiz like that, I mean, he did two that were based on what Ray Comfort said, and he named Ray Comfort. That's good. You have to name the source for the ridiculous crap claim.
double negatives and intentionally being confusing.
Well, that's
all
just
of the
your
above,
English
none of the
issues.
above. Really?
Only one wrong answer in the list. That one got Rachel.
Thank you.
I was just trusting his answers until I realized that Compsognathus is kind of like one of the
And you
most
also
early pre-primitive. And Allosaurus, even though it is a bird like Tyrannosaurid.
I want to thank our premium supporters. I'm so sick of Allosauraptus. I can't even.
Allosaurus?
Tom Amon, Michael Perez, Francis Wicks. These are the people who make this show possible. Michelle Wickham, Paul Svensson, Randall Hogan, Paleo Clipper, Randall Phillips, Eric Carell, Steve Johnson, Bob Bull, Jonathan Collins, Charles Proteau, Brad Parker, Michael Epson, Zachary Desordi, and Jeffrey Straka. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for your support, guys. You have no idea. And remember, everyone who is upgrading their account now through February, if you are already a member and you upgrade your account to anything, you automatically get a free audiobook. Login.dogmadebate.com. Let's go to that after show where we're going to have a show meeting and talk about us getting on AM radio in Dallas. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. Until then, it's dogmadebate.com and facebook.com/dogmadebate. By the way, we're getting a new website. Thank you, Andrew, for making the quiz. It was very sweet of you.
Yeah, did you see how well structured it was? There was periods after every single number. Everything was perfectly capitalized. He spent a long time on that. And he offered to make more.
No, don't do that.
Johnny combs his hair and Johnny wants me swing cars. Johnny's in America. Johnny's in America. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. Yeah, I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. God is an American. God is an American. God is an American.